Well, here we are. The beginning of the end.
That's, more than anything, it's more like the beginning of your end, but...
Yeah, that's what I said.
Alright, then we're all...
This is gonna go so poorly.
We're gonna... So, let's just define the two categories we lie in. I am in the belief that I enjoy fun, and I enjoy good times. Drew doesn't! So let's go. Let's just go.
So let's start with July 4th, 2023. Where Ryan bullied me because I played video game wrong. Which, as you know, is a serious offense in the United States.
Bullied.
Yes, you did! We're not doing this! You're gonna deny it! You're going to deny it.
What did I say?
Well, it's actually not that bad, so I'm not gonna say it. Because it doesn't fit my narrative.
Is that right, Drew? Is that right? Gosh, I wish we had face cam so people could see how much of a shit sucker you are. Gosh. You just get that plain face of like, no, Ryan, I'm actually the one that's justified.
Do you want me to actually go through this?
If you want to, that's up to you.
Let's just see how it went. Drew, how far are you in Tears of the Kingdom? Eyes looking to the side with sweat. Come on, Drew, fucking really? I'm genuinely thinking about picking it up again soon, but I just lost interest after binging it so much. How do you lose interest is my question. I think I'll just rush through the dungeons and bosses, pretty much done exploring. Finishing the dungeons helps you explore... Okay, a little bit. This isn't worth going through. Listen. I wanted to enjoy the game, and I did for a while, and then it just got kind of old. That's it. Why am I wrong for not...
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. It's just that I think that you approached this very similar to how you approached Breath of the Wild, and I think that
exactly the same way. No
question. I think that this game is so vastly different that approaching it differently would have helped. And I say that because I did what you did. I explored, but then I found certain things intriguing. I found certain things like, okay, well, you know what, I'll visit a village. And then I was like, it's different. Okay, I'll do this village. And then, as I went, I found another village, and I was like, it's different. Okay, I'll check it out and see what's going on. And it helped keep my interest up as I played, because it was so not what I expected. It was so different compared to Breath of the Wild, where it's like, look, there's that divine beast, and it's going to threaten us. Meanwhile, you could fucking stand there for 7 days and nothing would happen. And it's like, here you actually, like, see it right in front of you. Where I get that, like, yeah, sure, nothing would technically happen. But it's more than just, hey, this is our city, look how pretty it is. By the way, can you deal with that thing?
I unfortunately kind of feel like ultimately it ended up... I don't want to say it had the same problem, because the villages... This is going to be so scattered. The villages actually being shown to be in terrible danger is an excellent improvement. I'm not, like, for sure. Like, I felt that. I'm not just conceding to that. I felt that. But I think it's more just a consequence of, yeah, but you can put this off however long you want. And that's not Tears of the Kingdom's fault. That's video game design, especially open world. Yeah. You can't be forced to do anything at any point. So the urgency can be lost when you want to go find 15 Korok seeds in the Farron Woods.
I have a question for you, and it's a real question, because Pokemon Scarlet and Violet was open world. How did you maintain focus through that?
Well, it's kind of not open world, though. It's really more just you have a lot of open area, but there is still... I don't know if linear progression is the right word. You only have a couple options at a time. In Tears of the Kingdom, you can get right off the tutorial island and go literally wherever you want.
Well, Well, not really. I mean, the thing is, I would say it's really just placement. Tears of the Kingdom obviously places you above, and you go right to the dead center of Hyrule.
But what's stopping you from going to the desert, or the Hebra Mountains?
Just a sec. What I'm meaning to say is, like, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet clearly starts you at the bottom of the map.
Right.
You work your way up, and you can't make any shortcuts through the way. So you're like, okay, I guess I'll tackle these challenges.
Right.
And that's what I think is kind of what you're looking for, is some obstacle to be in your way to make you progress. At least in my mind.
I've been wrestling with myself about how much I like open world as a whole, and it's a little difficult for me to say because I've only played a handful of open world games, and I'm sure there are other games I haven't played that handle it in a very different way, like Horizon Zero or Witcher.
Mm-hmm.
But I've only played the 2 open world Zeldas, Fallout New Vegas and Skyrim. I think
all very different.
Right, but even then, it's really only 2 different styles, and those 2 styles vary differently. But it's really Nintendo open world and Bethesda open world, and that's kind of it.
Yeah.
Because the 2 Zeldas are very similar, at least for the most part.
Yeah.
The 2 Bethesda games are very similar.
I guess it's just a matter of, like, whatever you found, because this isn't exactly open world, but, like, when I was playing Super Mario Sunshine as a kid, I always felt like that was kind of open world as a kid, where I was like, I don't have to do the mission the way that the game wants me to. I can just kind of fuck around and do whatever. And then if I approach a boss, I can just do it.
Yeah, it kind of is. It's not literally an open world, but it is, at least to a degree, non-linearity. Like, you do unlock levels in I think a mostly or completely linear progression, but the exact order you tackle the missions is non-linear. I think non-linearity matters more in allowing the player to express freedom and feel free than an actual open world. I think open world can go hand in hand with that, but non-linearity I think is the more important part.
Okay. Well, I'm curious to ask, because I want to ask this thing. You said you had notes?
Not really specific notes, more just talking points. I
had straight up notes.
I was going to make a shit ton of notes, like almost practically a script, but I decided not to do that just because it didn't feel natural, honestly, and I feel like everything that I need to say I'll remember.
Okay.
So I haven't played the game in like a week or so, and I haven't written down extensive notes for the most part, but I am coherent enough to have this conversation.
Well, how about we just jump
so
in
that you
then?
can hate me.
How about we just jump in then, and because we really haven't said anything about the game in general, other than our feelings on it so far. So what do you think of Tears of the Kingdom, just based on pure feeling?
It's honestly hard to say. I feel like I need to actually go over everything in the game first.
Well, that's perfect. I have notes that go over everything well, not everything, but like the main points of the game.
I feel like the right place to start though would be Link's toolkit, because that's really the game changer here, isn't it? It's your severed hand magic powers.
So the new runes.
Yes.
I gave grades. Would you like to hear my note on the new runes?
Yes.
Okay. The new runes, I gave a 10 out of 10. And I gave a 10 out of 10 because...
You're biased!
I gave a 10 out of 10 because of what I'm about to say.
Shoo! Corporate shoo!
I'll smack you. These runes make the Kingdom of Hyrule your playground. Use the Force, up and away, hot glue gun, and wait, stop. Are tools that you are not just... Tools that you use that are not just used to traverse the landscape, but to fight the landscape for a feeling of pure fun. It's a great alternative to the traditional challenge of getting up to the hill. It asks how you're going to get up to the hill.
Yes. I remember saying in our Breath of the Wild discussion, I don't want them to get rid of the runes that Link had in that game because I thought there was untapped potential And I cannot believe how much I disagree with what I said in hindsight, because there really isn't a lot you could do with that stuff.
I think arguably the only one you're really missing out on is stasis.
Yeah.
And really...
But I like that recall doesn't... It can't just do what stasis does and add on top of it, because it feels like you need to think more cleverly. You know, you're limited in a really interesting way.
Yes.
And that recall only functions in one way. You have to use your brain. Stasis is so mindless.
I like that you can use other abilities while still using recall.
Yes.
You can switch from recall, like while something's coming at you, be like, oh, it's going to go past me. I want to grab it. So you switch to Ultra Hand and you just grab it.
Right. But yeah, I mean, what were the other abilities in Breath of the Wild, right? You had bombs, which can just be items. You know,
bombs, square bombs.
Yeah. It's fine, but bombs are still plentiful anyway.
You had Magnesis and Cryonis.
And those two, those are the ones that I actually hate in hindsight with how limited they are. And Cryonis maybe could have had a little more utility, but Magnesis is only move magnetic metal objects and nothing else. You can't do anything else. I don't even think you could stick magnetic objects together.
Nope.
Which is like the obvious thing to do if you're naming it after magnets. So it really just boiled down to drop a crate on this guy or put a platform here. I'm shaking in my boots, boss. I'm sweating.
I fully stand by what I'm about to say, and it's Breath of the Wild was one of the best, biggest beta tests for this game. And it's because I know a lot of people have criticized like the lack of music, the lack of this, the lack of that. I say that was all by design for that feeling of emptiness that Breath of the Wild had.
Yeah, for sure. It was intentional.
But it was also the biggest way that the game developers didn't have to put too much time into all those aspects, because they got to play around with the new runes, got to play around with whatever they had, and even I in the few days before Tears of the Kingdom came out, I explored some of those weird avenues where people were doing glitches and what was the one where it's you have a bomb hit you and it sends you a million and sends you a million miles away. And I learned how to do that, and I was like, this is a really fun tool set. Obviously that's gone from this current game, but I feel like that's what they got to play with, and they were like, okay, let's crank this up, because this is fun. This is something we should do. And I love how it just seems to me like this game was the fun they got to have, but they're giving it to us.
Yeah, for sure.
So that was more along anything. And just a quick another aside, the Zonai devices, which is a whole nother thing, but I'm just going to go into it really quick. It's using your hot glue gun rune. You can fuse Zonai devices to your sword, shields, arrows, wood panels, glider, Koroks, and even just set them down to play with them. The most fun, though, is to fuse them together. This can break the game in terms of exploration, but it feels more like a feature to me. But that's not why you create. You create to think outside the box and find fun ways to outsmart your previously conceived notions of the rules. In one word, brilliant.
See, this is where I can feel the gun pointed to the back of my head.
If you're about to... Go ahead. No, I'm not going to judge. I'm not. I'm going to let you talk.
Audibly hear him loading the gun.
I understand your opinion is different than mine, so go for it.
I'm sweating here. It's so weird knowing that yesterday will be the last day I've ever seen my family before I die.
Quit exaggerating, just say your piece.
The axe is still up there, man. The axe! Yep. What do you use that for, man?
None of your business.
You don't hunt.
I said none of your business.
Oh, anal. Okay, so In theory, yes.
Is what you're about to say based on that video you sent me?
Which one?
The one about cheating?
No.
Okay.
Well, actually, yes. Actually, yes.
Well, go into it.
There is a video I actually suggest everyone watch, because it makes a great observation about the design of Tears of the Kingdom, and if I remember correctly, it's from Daryl Talks Gaming. It's called Tears of the Kingdom Wants You to Cheat. Not literally cheat, but it teaches you how to kind of exploit the open world and help you traverse in interesting ways, help you use interesting Zonai devices and tricks with like Ultra Hand, Infuse, and Recall. God, I can't believe that this is like an actual video game. Honestly, it stuns me that there's this much utility and these many tools. It's so weird to think about how Breath of the Wild had this crazy physics and chemistry system,
and now on top
and Tears of the
physics...
Kingdom is probably, if you could even quantify it, more than twice as complex.
I'd say at least 3 times.
Like, what were they cooking? Jeez. What were they on while they were cooking?
And that's one of the reasons I suppose there's no point dancing around it. That video is kind of that Drew sent me about the games. This is why I say you create to think outside the box and find fun ways to outsmart your previously conceived notions of the rules. I don't think that this game is strictly like, I mean, obviously it's not cheating. You're not cheating in the
Right,
game.
not literally.
No. And that's kind of like the point of his...
Even exploiting is kind of a weird way to put it, but it's really... The developers gave you so many tools to break preconceived notions, especially if you played Breath of the Wild already. But even if you hadn't, the stuff you can do is just not things that many other games let you do.
Oh, exactly. And the thing that I found that drastically made me think that I love this game was that, you know, I in Breath of the Wild, for instance, if I wanted to get to all the towers, I probably would have needed a few of the champion's abilities. Otherwise, I would have really been struggling to get them. This game is like, if you have the right tools, you can do anything. And when I found that out, I was like, okay, but how far can I go? And I'm a really, like, I do like to explore. Like, don't get me wrong, I love to just chew the scenery and just do whatever. But I've encountered so many people whose playstyles are 180 degrees different than mine in so many different ways.
There's so many different ways you can play this game.
People who use the Zonai devices all the time, people who use the Zonai devices rarely, like me, people who just find fun ways to create things, people who are actually just going for the story. And for me, I think the game is, in a ways, much better when you are kind of using the Zonai devices sparely. Because I say this because you are, when you do use them creatively, you feel more accomplished. And if you use them all the time, then it's kind of like, okay, I've done this before, I just need to do it again. I don't need to really think on it, I can just do it.
I actually didn't think we would agree on this. Okay, so you might only kill my wife. So, you know, I mean, comparatively better. But I feel like I should just get right into it.
Go for it. I told you, go ahead.
For whatever reason, this kind of, I don't know if it's specifically open world, but at least this kind of open world and the way that it's designed doesn't completely appeal to me. I ended up feeling kind of the same way I did with Breath of the Wild, where I had an amazing, truly wonderfully fun first 100 hours, and then like right after that, I started despising the game because of how repetitive I found it to be. And if I truly hated this game, then I wouldn't feel the way I do about those first 100 hours. I counted. I played 120 hours before the game started getting old. But when it got old, it got obnoxiously old to me. But what helped me enjoy so much of it was I just love exploring the map. I love, I don't know, the landmarks, the feel, right? Kind of the music, the graphics, the intricate design of how everything's laid out, the verticality and such.
You're taking it in again for a whole new time. So.
Right. And the scope is much bigger, but ultimately, even though I think, I guess that this is my thesis statement if you're looking for it, is ultimately I think Tears of the Kingdom has the same problems, at least the problems I had with Breath of the Wild, even though it improves on so much, and it really does. It really does. Breath of the Wild was already not like a bad game. It was pretty fucking good. Mm-hmm. I just didn't jive with it. Tears of the Kingdom is an even better game, but after a while, just don't jive with it. And I've seen this kind of counter argument to people who hold this same feeling that I do. I hesitate to even call it an opinion because it's not like yeah, I just kind of stopped having fun after a while. Mm-hmm. And the counter argument I hear is, well, you don't have to play everything. Once a game gets old, just stop playing the game or just go to the final boss. And I guess it's just something I'm not used to, because with every other game that's so much smaller in scope or so much more tightly designed, there is no I'm tired of this. By the time you would get tired, the game's already done. At least for the kind of fun that I have in games, exploring to me is really, really, really fun, especially non-linearly. It's not like I need everything to be a fucking linear series of challenge rooms or anything. It's just, once I'm done exploring the world, I realize how much of it is filled with the same 5 things. The same shrines, the same Korok seeds, the same enemy encampments. And even though the variety and the quality is better than Breath of the Wild, it's still kind of the same 5 things to me. So, if I see the same 5 things for 120 hours, even if I found them fun for a long time, I really get worn out by realizing that there's never going to be anything new, and I'll go fight the final boss now. It's a very deflating feeling to have, because it's always a sudden realization for me. I never know exactly when I'm going to feel worn out by exploring the world. I'll probably have explored the world a million times over, and then I'll just be doing some random shit, and I'll be like, oh look, an enemy encampment. I feel like I've seen 100 of those, though. Okay.
I see what you're saying, but I feel like that is, and I don't mean to be sounding rude when I say this, I feel like that is such a surface level way to look at it. Because I say that because, like I described earlier, dang, my throat, sorry.
My throat hurts from how much I hate you.
Such hate in my throat.
It burns.
I have a hawk in my throat and it's ready to fight you. No, I think my problem is that, like I said earlier with my opinion, when I got bored of chewing the landscape, that's when I decided to tackle the story. And that the story was a nice break from chewing the scenery, and vice versa, because sometimes I would get sick of the story. Like, during the middle of helping Tulin, I was just kind of like, I want to go do something else. And when you leave, he doesn't follow you, so it's just like, oh, okay, I'll go do my own thing for a little bit.
Right.
And I came back with...
Wait, emergency announcement. Tulin is best boy.
Yes, I agree with that.
He's such a good lad.
He's very happy, and he consistently gets headshots on all opponents.
Excellent little brother material. Would take him out for ice cream with sprinkles. Confirmed. 5 out of 5.
And
so much better than Teva.
Yeah.
Or Rivali. Turns out all you have to do to not annoy me is not be an arrogant shithead. Mm-hmm. Write that down! Update the Rito fan wiki.
The Rito fan wiki. I
miss the owl, though. I wish he didn't die. Can you find his grave anywhere? Is he, like, buried?
Wait, who?
The owl. He was the old mayor. Not mayor.
He's
like,
not dead. See, and this is why you need to, like, this is why I like chewing up the scenery sometimes.
Where'd he go?
He's around.
He's not in the village. He's not sitting on his chair. That's where he's supposed to be. He's supposed to be glued there like a good mare.
Did you... Gosh, I swear I feel like I'm talking to my little sister right now. Because she did the same shit. She's like, where did he go? I'm like, did you not read any of the fucking dialogue?
I thought I read all of it. I guess not.
They fucking say where he is.
Where is he?
He's in the flight range.
I don't give a fuck about that place. I hate it in Breath of the Wild. I'm not going to go there in this game.
Exactly, but he's just there. He's just there now. He's like, I'm old and I'm here, so sure. But it's just, that's where he's fucking at.
I thought he died of old age.
I at first thought that, and I found him.
I thought no one just talked about it because it was a little like sad and no one wanted to bring it up. Like that was the in-game like diegetic reason. I'm like, that makes sense. Okay, like he was old. Yeah, sure.
No, it was just there's just a lot of things to explore and see. And
what an idiot.
No, I'm not like that.
Talking about Drew, I'm not talking about the owl.
The fucking...
What if this was about a real person, though?
What?
Dude, what happened to your uncle, man? He's down the street. What the fuck?
He moved to Kansas. I thought I told you. You just never talk about him. Didn't he die? Fucking...
Alright, I have to come out with this because it's been weighing heavily on my mind and my shoulders and my heart.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's not like I want to be... I don't know why I'm like this. I'm so prejudiced. I'm an owlist.
I'm an owlist. It started with Kapora Gabora.
And an
from
ageist.
Ocarina of Time.
An elderist. I hate old people.
I hated that guy under the precedent that he just never noticed that you were the champion. He's like, champion's descendant. And it's like, that's not what it is, but okay.
It's been 100 years. He wasn't alive back then.
Which is fair. I just wish that you could, like...
Jeez, when I say I hate old people, I'm kidding!
No, I don't feel like explaining myself. Fucking, this is so
that can only mean that you know you're wrong.
No, it just means that I don't feel like explaining
You know you're wrong. Admit it!
Gosh, stop.
Oh, I need my bottle.
I
can't open it up. My hands are too sweaty with... No, get away from me!
I was just offering to open...
I don't need your help! Hey, can you give me a ride later?
No.
Okay.
Not anymore.
You're never helpful!
Thank you. I wanted to go over some small adjustments that improve the gameplay.
2 extra inches.
Okay. Fewer health items. There are noticeably less hardy radishes at the beginning of this game.
I'm actually, in retrospect, I am glad that players still have the option to get hardy ingredients if they want. But I think it is nice that they're rare. They're not impossible to find. They're just not as common.
Yeah. You can even farm some if you want.
Yeah, but I am kind of glad they didn't get rid of them,
rate.
because why get rid of one thing that makes the game easier?
Except hardy durians. God rest their soul.
Oh, durians are gone?
Yes, hardy durians are gone. That's like the one item that's gone.
They're not even by Lurelin Village, which I honestly never did the Lurelin quest. I've heard it's good.
Oh, it's really good.
But I just honestly ran out of steam for playing the game. And even after taking a couple days break, I'm like, okay, before going to play Pikmin 4, I'll at least do this because I've heard it's good, and I'm sure it is good though.
It's fun because it's a lot of world building. It's a lot, and like that's why I liked going to Terrytown and Kakariko and all these other places, because it's like, especially Hateno too. Like that, I mean, a little annoying sometimes, but like you're still that. I will save this for deeper conversation, but useful enemy drops. Something we just didn't have really in the old game, unless you wanted to make potions, which Not many people really did.
Right, because potions always felt like it's just food too, but they don't heal you.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's food minus, which like, okay.
I think these champions' abilities are far more fun.
Okay, we just skipped right to that. All right.
Well, this is just
talk about MonsterFriends.
Well, these are just the small adjustments.
Small. I just like saying that word in that way. I don't know why it's funny.
New and returning enemy types. Obviously, you have the constructs. You have the
Vor Frog. You have
the returning enemies. You have likes and Gibdos and a lot of others. But I'm glad that there's more. And new is obviously your favorite, the Horriblins.
Why do you lie? Why does lying come so easily to your forked tongue? I hate them.
What is it about them that you hate so much? I don't like them, but I'm just curious.
It's hard for me to describe why. It's a very subjective kind of thing, but I guess the easiest way to put it is
they're just disgusting to you.
The way their faces look, it's just uncanny valley for me. Like we all have a different uncanny valley. Like some people are freaked out by clowns and some people aren't. Some people it's mannequins, right? Or like dolls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there are a handful of Zelda enemies that go into that uncanny valley for me. I don't remember the name of the little goblins that follow you around in Forsaken Fortress and Wind Waker, but something about them and how they were so numerous and the sounds they made, and I think their eyes glowed red.
Yes.
It gave me horrible anxiety, even though they are like a literal nothing problem to do.
Yeah, you literally hit them once and they die.
You hit them once and they pose no threat even in early game.
Yeah.
But something about the way they acted just triggered my fight or flight response.
Fair enough.
When I played Breath of the Wild,
peace be with you.
Moblins did that to me too, and it's I don't feel as strongly about it because I'm so used to fighting them, but the way that, like, I don't know, their lumbering nature, the way their backs are arched, their
very
floppy noses, the sounds they make is uncanny valley, and the horde ones to me are actually even worse.
Oh, okay.
For some reason, it's the monkey sounds. It's the way the enemies jiggle because of the physics engine.
Yeah.
When they like dance around or when you hit them.
Fair enough.
And anything that climbs on the ceiling is bound to be a good time for someone who's afraid of feeling vulnerable around monsters. It's just a great idea. Put that in the game. We need to.
I find it fun shooting them down with arrows. That's one of the things I like to do. But
why does this remind you? I like shooting crows. Sometimes I just go in my backyard and I shoot the Horriblins with my arrows. It's just a nice relaxing day with my dog and a bottle of gin.
Another small adjustment that I feel improves the game, building your own house. I find that pretty fun.
I honestly did not even get around to it. I got a second block. I'm like, this is a house. Neat. And then I went and did literally anything else for $100.
My gosh. Dragon interaction. I like that you can actually stand on the dragons and not die immediately.
Wait a minute. It's a little weird though. It's a little weird that Link can buy a house when he already has a house.
Zelda just fucking took it. She fucking took it over. Everyone says it's Zelda's house now. You know the sign that says Link's house out front in Breath of the Wild?
Yeah.
That sign's gone.
Yeah, I know, because that's one of the first places I went to. And I think people don't understand the implication.
Yeah.
Even you. That's crazy to me.
No,
okay.
I get it. It's just that, like, everyone just keeps saying it's just her house. They don't say.
You scared me for a second.
No, they don't say Zelda and Link's house. No, they just say Zelda, and it's like.
I honestly.
Like, she just take the deed? Like, what the fuck?
I honestly feel like the reason it doesn't say Link and Zelda's house is because Nintendo is afraid of.
That's why
going forward with the whole shipping thing.
Yeah.
They don't even kiss at the end.
Which is fucking horseshit.
Why can't I get a scene
I-
of Link giving her sweet, delicious honeyed cunnilingus if I get every Korok seed?
Why can't I get one hug? One fucking hug. And no, the dive does not count.
No, they don't even hug.
No.
I didn't beat the game.
That's fucking bullshit. They don't even hug, and I was fucking pissed. Instead, you have this sentimental moment with a fucking stupid character.
They're just nice acquaintances.
Such bullshit. It's the same problem I have with Mario, where it's like, if I went through a fucking hellspawn of just fucking turtles and dragons and shit, I at least deserve a hug. Because that shit was traumatizing to me. I don't care what the fuck you went through. You were in a cage. I had to fucking go through 8 worlds.
But it's worse in Zelda because in Zelda, the story actually matters.
Yes! That's why it makes me angry, because it's like, no, you have to do something. Otherwise, this is just bullshit.
Well, Mario's arguably at least at one point gotten a better reward.
And a kiss on the fucking nose, that's something.
No, this is where you edit in the picture of the Mario 3 All-Stars corruption, where a giant peach gives him a blowjob.
See if I can find that. But,
I'll find it for you. You remember the Vine Sauce corruption.
Oh, yeah. No, that's impossible! I do want to go over some stuff you said you had problems with in the last, in the Breath of the Wild retrospective.
Yeah, so the chicken was a little too fatty. I wish they had trimmed it a bit.
Shut your fucking mouth. So, you had problems with... You just keep saying nonsense, and I just get sick of it to some point. So, you just keep going like, yeah, so my mom just fucking exploded one day. I don't know what to do about it. And I'm just like... You know, like, Ryan, you can at least, well, at least you're killing my wife. It's like, I don't care about this. This isn't real truth.
Are you talking about the literal nonsense we spew?
Yes. At some point, I'm just like, are you talking about the game, or are you just gonna spew shit for 5 more minutes?
Okay, I thought you were actually talking about my personal experience with the game and calling it just nonsense, and I felt kind of like, where do we go from here?
No, I just get sick of being like, oh my gosh, Drew, I fucking... But, like, you had a problem.
Oh my god, I hate him.
I wanted to ask you... Excuse me.
This is going very well. How many minutes are we in?
30.
Okay.
37. Okay, so... Weapons. You had a problem with weapon durability last time. I wanted to ask if your opinion on that has improved at all.
Honestly, no. And it took me a while to really think on it, but I think ultimately I'm not big on the idea of temporary weapons. Like, I think it works for this game. It's just not something I'm in love with. It didn't infuriate me in Breath of the Wild. It didn't infuriate me in Tears of the Kingdom. But I guess it's just when weapons are found throughout the world as rewards, they don't feel like rewards because you know they're going to go away so quickly.
I'll just say what I said about what I wrote about the weapons is all weapons have been sought out on the surface and infected by gloom, creating a unique world where killing monsters and fusing their horns to your weapon makes it stronger. The progressive combat is very fun and fascinating, given that you can give your weapon an elemental advantage, a advantage, and so many more advantages. I'd be here all day. Now, something I failed to mention is that in the underground, you can get polished weapons.
Yes.
Which dramatically boost up that effect. And it is so much more helpful to creating longer lasting and longer, like, more durable weapons. So, I mean, there is that, and I wish I wrote that down, but, like, that to me brings enough uniqueness to the weapons that I felt it was kind of missing from the last game. Like, I never had a problem with weapon durability. That was just never a thing I had a problem with. But I do like the expansion on weapon durability and how, like, oh, all the weapons are weak now. They only take, like, 3 or 4 hits or whatever. But you can make them stronger.
Right.
I do like how that works. So
I do like that they start you out with weaker weapons, though, because it perfectly encourages you to experiment with Fuse. That just felt like really good game design to me. It feels weird.
Oh, I did
talking
put something.
about
In the depths, you can find polished weapons from fallen soldiers, which are stronger than the gloom-infected ones.
Okay, I'm gonna forget about this. So I have to talk about this because I feel like a crazy person. I tried looking this up multiple times throughout the last couple months, and I cannot find anyone even remotely talking about the same thing. I feel like a fucking crazy person.
What?
In the depths, there are multiple statues for multiple races of people. I found Zora, Goron, Rito, Gerudo, Hylian, and there are frog statues. And I'm not talking about the little frog statues that you like give an offering to by Yiga hideouts. No, there are tall frog people. Yeah, with the whatever that pose
the
is.
weird arms.
What are they?
I'm assuming that's going to be explored in potentially some DLC.
I was really hoping for any other fucking
Yeah, I
answer.
know. There's no.
I kind of
no
saw
frog.
that coming a mile away.
There's like no frog people in Zelda.
But it. Man,
I wish I
would
had better. They remind me of fucking like battle toads. A little bit.
I think that was part of what helped me feel really disappointed ultimately by the depths.
I expected to find like a new race of people.
Yeah,
I guess that's fair.
because it would have been like finding out what the Zonai are in Breath of the Wild, maybe with a little more info. You know, not that they had to be around, but just to. I was hoping to find at some point some like old city.
Yeah.
And like get
With,
little
like,
hints with
ruins or
like
something.
some diaries written in like a language you can't decipher.
That would have been unique. Yes, I agree.
And I'm sure I'll get that for $30 more fucking dollars 9 months from now. Which like, yeah, cool, but now the depths are so cool. It is so cool that they kept it from us completely.
Well, do you want to just jump into that? Because
Yes, I want to jump into the. That's gonna come out so good.
So I want to go
Walrus
Really?
being stepped on. .mp4.
really quickly. I want to go into this in levels. The surface. I gave a very generous number of a 9 out of 10. Much more alive than Breath of the Wild. It shows how this world can progress and move forward while still occasionally falling on its ass at times. The landscape, at least to me, feels new and fresh without feeling too familiar and boring. It's a perfect blend of world building and developing the people's culture and civilization. You haven't experienced that much because you've kind of not done certain things with the cities and whatnot,
No, I have though.
but you didn't finish.
Well, I thought you knew this though. No, I didn't go fight Ganon, but I saved all 4 towns.
Yeah, but you didn't like do a bunch of like Terrytown missions or to help Laurel and Village or stuff like that.
Right.
Caves, I gave a 10 out of 10. Exactly what the new series of Zelda games needed. Interesting caverns, ready to either reward you, puzzle you, fascinate you, or destroy you. Literal cave-dwelling enemies that are unique and interesting as you traverse the burrows. Sky, I gave the weakest number out of all of these, I think, a 7 out of 10.
How harsh.
The sky is an excellent means of wonder and befuddlement in this game. The islands and how they got there are both fascinating and designed for fun. Other than that, they aren't the greatest. They feel very condensed oftentimes and are very far from each other on the map. The depths. In the pitch black darkness, no one knows what lurks. You can see only the shadows as you search for light. You brighten a fraction of your way temporarily, hoping not to suddenly hear the growl of a hungry beast or the aura of gloom. But once you find your light, you take a moment to catch your breath, then continue onward into the darkness.
I was about to say you should be a writer, and then I remembered that you literally are. Took me a second.
The depths are easily the best part of Tears of the Kingdom. constantly full of unique surprises that build the world light your way and scare you half to death at the drop of a dime. The vegetation and creepy atmosphere, the giga, the monsters, the bosses, the treasure. If you don't like the depths in this game, we can't be friends.
So, like, it's the same with the rest of the game. I loved the depths for hours and hours and hours.
Oh, it can get repetitive. I don't argue that.
But it was repetitive to a degree that I really took issue with because, and you're right, everything you said, really, I agree with. The feeling of the depths, how it's so pitch black and how you have to illuminate your way, is a feeling that I don't know I've experienced from any other thing. I guess the closest is probably Deep Nest and Hollow Knight.
I guess. Yeah, that's probably the closest I've experienced as well.
Especially if you don't have the lantern and you fall in there like a fucking idiot and Team Cherry says, "Ha, got him," because you can do that. It can happen to you.
I was so baffled because it's like, once you're in that darkness, Link is even like desaturated.
Yes.
And you can really only see like a distant light or gloom.
Right.
And it's like,
and the gloom is very faint.
Yes. And it's just like fucking perfect.
No other game has given me the feeling that I feel when I throw a bright bloom seed right in front of me and nothing happens. Nothing happens. And nothing happens. Because it fell down. And then I hear ping! It went off. And I still can't see. And it's zero difference unless I tilt the camera down. Like I'm being gaslit by the environment.
There have been times when because I didn't even know you could throw things like items as just items at first.
Until you got to the depths, me too. Yeah.
And that was fucking brilliant. I was so fucking like, wow. And I was like, at first I would shoot an arrow and then I would see the trail of the arrow and I'm just like, oh. And then it would hit and I'm like, that doesn't fucking help. I see a thing way in the distance and I can't get there.
Yeah, the sheer sense of scope is wonderful. I mean, it's already good in the surface world like it was in Breath of the Wild, and it's good in the sky. But in the depths, you really feel like you're relying on your senses and your instinct. Fantastic. Because I kind of suspected there might be something like an underground, maybe, but I didn't. I thought it would just kind of be like basic cave networks, like kind of what we saw Link and Zelda go through in the initial trailer.
I didn't think it'd be underground areas. Like there would be like little areas, like say
like
under
pockets.
Yeah, like pockets. Like under Hyrule, there's one. Under like a certain village, there's one. Under the places, there's one. Because I remember we saw the one. It was very clearly underground where it's like the fire temple in the trailer.
Yeah.
We saw that and I was like, oh, so that's probably underground. So we'll probably have like stuff like that under the major cities.
We'll have like 6 or 7.
But no, fucking all expansive.
I can't even call it a network because that implies that it's like intertwined lines and routes. No, it's just another plane of existence.
Hyrule is just Chicago because it's the fucking second city where they just built right on top of the fucking city. And it was just fucking stacked. And it's like, why'd you leave all this shit?
Stacked!
Pretty much. And that's one of the reasons I did a little thing. I was like,
I did a little dance. I was so excited.
Just for the feeling, I was like, I'm gonna go from a sky island, jump off, and dive to the surface, to the depths. And I did it, and it just felt like, I was like, this is 3 games. Like, the Sky Islands are like one like not so great game. The surface is just Breath of the Wild again, but better. And then the depths is like fucking exactly what I wanted. That new sense of exploration where I'm just like, yes, more fucking please, yes. Is exactly what I needed, and it was so great.
I wish I wasn't disappointed by the depths ultimately, because it's the exact same issue I had with the surface world, where exploring every inch of it was boatloads of fun, but once I had been everywhere I wanted to. Well, that's the thing, though, is that phrase right there, been everywhere I wanted to, with the underground is way less applicable to me than it is to the surface, because on the surface world, at least, there's like icy mountains and there's a couple different villages. The depths are really, it's all kind of the same, besides like the mining sites, but then all of the mining sites look exactly the same. And there's some boss arenas and they look exactly the same. Even the cold areas, well, there aren't any cold areas actually. There's hot areas.
That's
when I got to the Elden Underground, I was floored. I was ecstatic, and I wish I hadn't found it so early, because it was the breath of fresh air that I needed underground, because Elden was like the third major region I got to underground. No, and I'll give props to the Korok depths. That was great. Terrifying.
Yes.
Fucking terrifying. But great. And I love that you need to go through that actual nightmare to get to the Korok Forest on the surface. That was a great twist. I was hoping that'd be the case somewhere in the game. But besides the Korok Forest and Elden, it all felt the same to me. And there's kind of even less variety. Again, because on the surface world you have the icy mountains, you have rain, right? You have the intense heat. The underground, the variety is just not as big. It's really cool. It's amazing when you first play it. And then it's just kind of the same, and it's just kind of the same. It's fun, it's just kind of the same, and it keeps going.
I do have a bit of a question. Did you do any of the what are they called? The labyrinths?
I did 2.5 out of 3.
So you know that they take place surface, sky,
and underground.
Okay.
Yeah.
That helped me appreciate them a bit more, even though the underground, those parts aren't really labyrinths. But I loved being in the sky in those labyrinths and just doing the. It's kind of like flight puzzles, like, which is fucking great, and I love that.
It was really interesting.
And I wish there were more of those puzzles too, because those felt really nice. But
it helps too that those, even though I didn't do all 3, I'm guessing the third ends the same. There's not like an epilogue after that. They all end with flux construct fights, and that's my favorite mini boss in the game.
Really? Okay.
It's my favorite because I immediately understood the first time I fought one. Yep, I can use Ultra Hand, can't I? And you could just pull it apart like a stupid fucking baby picking apart an action figures. I love it so much.
It also, the fight uses every single one of your abilities.
Yes, it even uses Ascend when he becomes the platform. That really is the best mini boss, isn't it? Is there contest besides Lionel's? Is there a contest? Because what are the other mini boss? I know this is a tangent.
I will say this, King Gleeok's.
Okay, I actually never fought a Gleeok because I was too much of a pussy, and then I got tired of the game.
The first time I encountered a Gleeok, I had mostly all the hearts.
Like most of the hearts that you can get from like Spirit Orbs, like you upgrade it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I basically had almost all the health. And I had all my stamina. And I had all the people with me.
All the sages?
Yeah, all the sages. That shit killed me. And then I was like... And keep in mind, I didn't just approach a normal Gleeok. I approached a King Gleeok in the sky, so I really had fuck all to go.
That's the thing, too, is... there was a day when we were hanging out, I think, and you said King Gleeok, and I'm like... The what Gleeok? I've seen the ice one, I've seen the electric one, I've seen the fire one. What is a King Gleeok?
All 3 combined.
Oh, like one head is each element? Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. And then it kills you. And then
Well, why else would you go visit a Gleeok?
I remember I was so scared because I had gotten there and I didn't realize it, and then I just saw it flying around the island, and I'm like, oh, fuck. And then I was like, maybe I can just get away, because I had auto-saved on that island, so I was like, I'll just fly away. And it noticed me, and I was like, well, I can fly away. It followed me and killed me. You know, it's really hard to avoid an ice beam, solar beam, and a fucking thunder wave all at the same time if you're trapped in triangle of all three. So I was pretty much fucked. And I killed it. I eventually killed it, and it took forever. But it was such a feeling of just like, yeah, I just fucking did that.
So how do you? I'm sure there's probably more than one way, but what's like the intended way of beating them? I think you said something about getting on their backs.
No, that's frogs.
Okay, yeah, no.
Gleeoks are different because they will continuously push you away. You have to use your arrows to, and you can use fused arrows, especially on the elemental ones, to fuse like an ice arrow, say, to hit the fire one, and it'll one-shot its head. Otherwise, it'll take, like, I think 3 hits, and they're kind of hard because they're always moving. So you weaken their heads, and then they kind of take a moment to rest, and you wail on their heads. Doesn't do much damage. And then they go up, and like halfway through, they'll do like one of two things. They'll either fuck all and just come at you, or they will fly way fucking up and rain everything they have down on you. And I'm not talking 3 beams. I'm talking they will rain glaciers down on you. Oh. They will rain thunder. And this is what I thought was cool about them. They will literally shoot thunderbolts down at you, and the thunderbolts create air pockets, so you can fly up. You have to fly up through before they shoot you, because shortly after a thunder one, they shoot a glacier down on it. So you have a little pocket of doing that.
But you have to avoid the glacier.
Yes. And cool. It's fucking insane because you're up so high up there, and you're just trying to get close enough to shoot an arrow at them. And then I find it great because once you finally take down all the heads, they fall. And the fall is what kills them because they fall from so fucking high.
That's great. This would be a great time to remind the audience that I give this game a 3 out of 10. The absolute dichotomy on display.
What did you think of the story? In my opinion,
I have no other way of putting this into words. This podcast makes me feel like Richard Nixon after Watergate.
I guess I'll see
I really feel like I'm the world's biggest enemy, and like even though I still believe in what I believe, I feel like I have hurt every single person in my country, and my only option is just to like say sorry and leave.
Except this one's on a global scale.
Can I really even be called a Nintendo soy boy anymore? My only option is to go buy a PlayStation right now. Sorry, boys. It's time for Gravity Rush and Ratchet and Clank, baby!
Okay, that was loud. That was really loud. Jesus, scared the shit out of me.
In fairness, Gravity Rush looks really, really cool to me. Maybe not break a table.
Yeah, that was... Okay. I would be shocked if there wasn't like a dent at the end of the fucking table.
There's gonna be a dent in my skull at the end of this conversation. Honestly.
No, but like...
It is reassuring to hear from you that the sky was also the worst part of the game to you, at least comparatively.
I mean, it definitely has its interesting moments, and there are places that, like, aside from the intended places where you would be like, oh, that's a cluster of shit, I'll just ignore it. You go there and then it's fascinating. It's fascinating, but there's just not enough.
Yeah, like, it's fascinating on that surface level of, man, this looks really cool and it's unique compared to everything else in the game, but most of what you find in the sky is not varied.
You find Sage's Wills pretty much, and you find treasure maps.
I actually don't even know what a Sage's Will is. I'm guessing they just boost the power of your sages?
So it's kind of like the Spirit Orbs where you take 4 of them, but these upgrade your sages, like vows.
Okay.
And really, they just kind of do more damage, like, for their attacks. So that's really it. But
okay. I had heard of them at some point, but that's it.
I haven't found all of them, and I will eventually, but like it is fascinating to find a few, because some are definitely connected to like constructs and flux constructs and whatnot, but with the I would say the most interesting Sky Island that like you wouldn't come across any other way unless you were fucking searching for it, is one that's like, what's the best way to put it? It's above the area lower of Rito Village.
What is there?
It's like a zero gravity area kind of place. It's kind of like the.
Oh no, I've been there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a unique area, and it's like has a mirror puzzle in there. It's kind of fun. It's just, but again, it's fun until it's not. It's like,
yeah,
you just kind of go until you can't anymore. And don't get me wrong, I've definitely felt the kind of fatigue that you're talking about with all the areas in the game. But
yeah, I think it just bothers you less ultimately. But I'm glad you can at least kind of understand.
No, I get it. But that's why I like all the variety. It's because like, okay, well, I'm bored with this. Let's go up to do this. It's like,
yeah,
that's why I mesh with this game so well, because it's like, when I get bored, I want something else to distract me. So it's like, okay, well, let's just go do some quests. I haven't even found all the fucking side quests yet, and I've been fuck all everywhere. Like seriously, I've been like, if you were to look at my fucking heroes path, it's fucking insane. Like, I've been so many places, and it's just like nothing.
I do want to give a special shout out real quick. This whole conversation is just me remembering random stuff. Shout outs to when I realized it. Did this take me too long? It was probably like 70 or 80 hours before I realized that the light routes were in the same X and Y coordinates as most of these surface world shrines.
It took me a while too.
Okay.
No,
It's so weird though, because how many hours of time did I spend just flopping back and forth between the surface map and the depths map? With how much I did that, there's no excuse. It should not have taken me that long.
No, it took me super long too, and I think for me it was weird because I had because I was also looking at areas that like have the towers, which are also blue symbols, but then you look underground and there's no blue symbol. So it's like,
that's true.
I'm also kind of looking at that and being like, oh, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
And then I realized that the names, the names for all the shrines, the underground ones are just that backwards.
Reversed, yeah.
And I didn't get that until way later. And but I think that also gives me a bit of appreciation for the fact that they're called Shrines of Light.
Yeah.
Because then you see, like, oh, well, why are they called that? That's why. Because they connect to the underground and they can light your way.
A little bit of world building there.
And there are a lot of, I will say this, there are a lot of secrets in the underground that I think would definitely be, like, kind of, it depends on what you find motivating, because, like, do you find the Yiga? Excuse me, did you do all the Yiga stuff?
So I found a lot.
I dropped it for a while. So I'll just say that really quick.
I found a lot of Yiga hideouts on my own when I was just exploring the world without.
I'm not talking about Yiga hideouts. I'm talking about like Yigas in mines.
Or whatever. I think of them as the same thing. But yeah, I found a lot of Yigas fucking around on machines and then killing them in one hit and getting a thing and a thing for like 12 times. But because I didn't do any of the main 4 village missions for a while, I never got auto build. The camera in the depths quest I only completed the first part of. It was like the first thing I did in the game once I got to the surface. It's like the first thing you see after you get to Lookout Landing is Josiah, Jury.
Oh, Joshua. That's fair. But
dumb, stupid fucking kid. Worst character in the game. Because you can you can come back to her a million fucking times and she'll be like, yeah, well, I have an update for you on Finding Princess Zelda. I'll let you know. And then she just never has anything ever. But you have that problem with her like 3 times? It's great. Anyway, because I didn't do the first dungeon for a while, I'm really just a very bitter person.
No, I get it.
I just hate children.
No, you hate bad character development. Which is understandable.
It's not really development. It's not like she has a character arc to dislike. It's just...
Yeah, she doesn't have one. So that's what you don't like. She doesn't have anything that's interesting about her other than, I'm quirky.
No, it's not even that. It's just that, you know, you're waiting to hear new stuff from her. It's dependent on progress you make, but you don't always know what it is. That's it. It's very surface level. I don't literally hate the character, although I do want to punch her in the face just because it sounds fun. I really am a whore. So anyway, did that sound like I really am a whore?
Yeah. I can clip that one. All right. Play that one back to you and make that my ringtone.
What would other people think of you if you did that? Do you think about these things?
Do I care?
You should?
Oh, well, I don't. Do you care for the stability of my table? Clearly not when you hit it. So, we're in the same boatman.
I'm not an ableist, I'm a tableist.
There's a difference.
You made a typo, you motherfucker. Now everyone thinks I'm ableist. What have you done to me? What was I trying to say a million times? So,
just progression stuff.
No, I didn't do the main quest for a while, so once I did the Rito quest line and saved their town, like 90 hours into the game, that's when I was able to go further into the depths for Josh's quest, and that's when I found Master Koga, and I was like, oh, okay, well, this is, you know, all the Yiga mine shit has been the same, pretty much, you know, like, you unlock new schematics, but other than that, that's kind of it. And none of the fights have been really difficult, so then I fought Master Koga, and I'm like, okay, this is a nice change of pace. He's like, haha, but now I'm gonna be over here, and I'm like, ooh, okay, I'll go follow him, and I fought him again, and I'm like, you know, it's nice that this is a little more time intensive, a little more difficult, but like, I'm only gonna do this a few more times, right? Like, yeah, he's on a different vehicle, but like, it still kind of feels the same. So then he ran off to a third mine, I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ, it's gonna be the same issue I have with everything else in the game, isn't it? So I went there, and it was another boss fight that went pretty much exactly the same, and then he said, I'm gonna go to another mine. Okay.
There's only like 4, I think.
Oh, really? Okay.
They don't go for like 10.
Okay. And I'm not saying this sarcastically, I'm not saying this to be mean. It's a legitimate question. Can you blame me for just assuming that there are going to be at least as many as there were regular Yiga?
Given your experience, I can't blame you. So.
Okay. I'm asking you that not to see how much you hate me or understand me, but just to make sure that I'm not a crazy person.
No, I gotcha.
It's so comforting to hear that once every 7 years you understand that I'm a human being. Holy fuck.
No, I certainly can understand that, like, there are certain aspects of the game that can be very annoying and stuff, and,
Yeah, it's not that any of it's bad, it's just, you know, a lot of it's the same. And that's... Listen, in a game this huge, I get it, you're not going to make completely new content every single place in every single corner of the game. But that really just means it's not going to be my favorite kind of game, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I'm also wondering how much of this was born from limitations, because we all looked at the Switch and we're like, can Breath of the Wild really run on the fucking Switch? And now they made Tears of the Kingdom, I'm like...
Can Breath of the Wild really run on the Wii U?
Yeah, it's like, you know, fuck. And, I don't know, it's such a very different mindset, where you're very like, why couldn't they add more? It's like, well, who knows? maybe this was all it could add for now. It's a weird feeling to be in because I really hope this game gets DLC.
It will.
And I really hope that like shit just beyond fun.
I don't think it's gonna be a game changer for me. Just like the Breath of the Wild DLC wasn't. It, if you already like the game, it'll be a little bit extra content. I don't know if they're gonna add like new enemy types or anything, but maybe you'll get like an extra 2 dungeons, some side quests, maybe involving the sages. It was kind of weird to me that they're. I mean, it's not that weird, but I guess I just kind of assumed that we were going to learn more about the ancient sages, but they're kind of literally faceless. I'm not saying that as an issue. It kind of caught me off guard a bit.
I was fine with it because I felt like, you know what, we're building up the new sages anyway.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense to not really care too much about them. We hear from them enough.
Right, and if we have to pick between building on the present era sages that Link is actually interacting with, for fuck's sake, over the ones in the past, I will take the former, because that's the issue I had with Breath of the Wild is
a lot more character given to
you learn a little bit about Yunobo, who is, I mean, I can understand if people find him annoying, but I at least think he's more interesting than Daruk, and you see a million times more of Daruk, and you never really even learn anything about him. I think in the DLC you learn that he likes dogs.
No, he hates dogs.
He hates dogs. I'm sorry, that was very memorable. On top of his entire bio page on the wiki just says he's big and he's happy and he's strong.
The end.
Update the fan wiki. And I like Daruk. I do.
No, I know. It's
I'm not going to pretend like he's not one-dimensional.
Yeah, you want to focus on the here and now.
Right.
And so much of that game is dwelling on, it's understanding the past, and that's good for a first time through, but then you're kind of like, eh.
I can't believe I'm only thinking this now. This is kind of going into a topic I want to bring up later, but imagine if Breath of the Wild had been, no, you're playing through the backstory of Link, like, Ganon's coming, he's starting to corrupt the Guardians, and you're getting the Divine Beast ready with the champions, and then halfway through, Link dies, and then you wake up 100 years later, and that's your, like, this is the Dark World twist, is you have been flung 100 years in the future, and you get to see how different Hyrule is in the middle of the game.
It'd be interesting, but I think it'd be very, very complicated, because you would want to go back, or like...
Maybe you could. Maybe it'd be like Ocarina of Time.
Could be. Wonder how that would work, but
Which again, that's a topic I actually want to bring up later, but there's still a lot more to talk about. Are we like an hour in?
Probably.
I wasn't sure this show was going to be horribly short or horribly long. I guess it's going to be horribly long, but
there's so much to discuss.
I'm kind of happy about that, and that I'm not a lifeless limp body on the floor yet. Halfway through rigor mortis is, I have to say, moderately comforting.
Moderately. I will say something that kept me going a lot of the times was because I was playing this game when it came out, and obviously YouTubers are a little more frequent when things come out.
They have to be to make their $5 a year.
Yeah.
From AdSense, bro.
I kept seeing very interesting videos from Austin John Plays. And I would look at the thumbnails.
The actual goat. And I'm not talking about Raru.
Excuse you. And but like...
Raru did it.
But, one of the things I was thinking about was that I would always see his thumbnail picture, and I would be like, oh, I want to find that.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, let me try and find that on my own. Then I might watch that video.
Yeah.
And so it took me a while, but eventually sometimes I would watch the video and be like, oh yeah, that's neat. And I'm glad that the old DLC stuff is just items in this game, which is pretty fun. What?
Don't worry about
Someone sent you a message.
Don't worry about it, bro. Bath and Body Works. Saved it.
I just want to go through some of my really quick things. The story I gave because it's also a bigger improvement on Breath of the Wild, 9 out of 10. The story is enthralling and captivating, at least for me.
Oh, I haven't even gone to my thoughts on the story. Oh man, this is gonna get bad.
The revelation you discover is heartbreaking to me. It's interesting to see how this all took place. Though it's not perfect, it's an excellent way to interest you in pushing forward in the game for more answers, which is what it did for me.
Yes.
Because it was like, whoa, what the fuck happened? And I was like, I hadn't even done any of the Tears of the Kingdom until you mentioned you did. And I was like, oh, that's what they do. They're like this game's memories. And I was like, I didn't even think of that. So You wrote that one of your key points was the Master Sword, which I gave an 8 out of 10 because it's like an ancient tool used by the hero is destroyed like nothing under the sheer weight of the Demon King. What? You're shaking your head. What?
We're gonna get into it.
The way you get it back is good, but I feel like it needed something more. I think that was...
You have no idea how much I agree with that last part.
I really was expecting something more from...
Stay tuned for my 3-hour analysis on why the Master Sword sucks, and if you don't like it, then you should...
Watch the entire video so that I can call you stupid.
So, like... I don't know about you, but did that logo not look like it was going to get like a mechanical type upgrade or something?
I just have to go into it, don't I?
Go for it.
Why can't I just enjoy video games? Why can't... What is holding me back?
True.
Am I a puppet on a string?
True.
Or am I just a dumbass?
It is okay not to enjoy games.
It's not a choice I make.
It's fine. I understand. Just say your piece.
Okay, so, real quick.
Just don't tear it a new asshole. Don't be like, well, this game is filled with shit. Like...
This is going to be the most scathing remark I have to say.
Well,
maybe
what?
about...
Well, it's fine.
Well, real quick, because I keep forgetting to ask, and this will segue naturally into what I'm about to explain, but the first thing I did when I got off the island, right, because there's so many ways you can approach the world, there's so many mysteries you have to uncover between the depths in Zelda and the Zonai devices and the villages under attack, right? So, like, the instant you got off the Great Sky Island, what was, like, your motivation? Like, what was the first thing you had to do?
I discovered Lookout Landing. Pro told me, hey, there's some soldiers over here. I went there, and then I got the paraglider, and I was like, okay.
But I guess after that, then.
After that, what motivated me was the regional phenomenon, but it was also just kind of exploring, which I did. I did do a lot of exploring, and then I did the regional phenomenon, which encouraged me to do more. Then after one of the regional phenomena, I went to the depths and did that, and then I discovered the depths, which means I discovered what I wanted to do for the rest of the game.
Okay. So you waited a little bit for the depths.
Yeah, because I didn't think... I had such low expectations. I had such low, like... I want to go down there, but I might just wait a little bit.
Yeah.
To just kind of like see what's going on, and then I got Tulin's help, and once after the revelation of temples, I was like, oh, okay, I'll do the temple, and I'm fine with the temples and stuff, but yeah, I was constantly pushed forward by new discoveries, so.
Because one of the first things I did, this is an aside, one of the first things I did was jump into the depths, because there's one directly south of Lookout Landing. They literally point you there, and it's like, dude, a giant wet moist hole. I'm still a virgin, like, I might never have this opportunity again, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I jumped in, it was a whole new world of Depth Sassy. So all the hottest girls are, besides Zelda, of course, that new haircut, man. It's just like Bayonetta. Her haircut in 1 is okay, and then the sequel is mwah, chef's kiss. But then Purah. I thought she was either supposed to be 5 or 500,000, neither of which I am inclined to chase after.
She's only like 118.
Do you like gilfs? That's on record. No. The worst part about this is it's not true, but now people are gonna believe it. Oh man. Yona, my beloved. I've always wanted to fuck a stingray. It's great.
I think I will never have been prepared for that statement when you literally sent me a thing saying, I'm ready for that stingray ussy. And I've said,
Ussy.
Ussy. And I was like, okay, I didn't even think of that, but okay.
Yeah, man.
And then you saw Minoru and you were like, I am a furry.
I already knew that.
Yeah, well,
But apparently because I was like Yona, I'm a... They don't have scales.
you're fishy.
Don't ever say that again.
I was waiting for that.
Pause the video.
No.
No, actually pause it.
Why?
Because I have to go recuperate.
We're back. Intermission's over. No more breaks.
Listen, I took like a real like mind wiping shit. It was just very meditative and calming. And then now that we're back here at the table, I remember that where we left off was Ryan called me a fishy. And like, I kind of want to just go back into a post-poop trance. Where I feel safe and calm and alone.
Feel safe. Oh my gosh.
I don't know, it feels like the kind of thing that should embarrass him, right? That like he should never be able to recover from. But I was on the other end of the fish hook. I don't know. He won't throw me back in the lake. I'm just gasping for air.
Like, Yona. How does that work out for you?
Shut your mouth. Don't patronize me.
Oh, Patreon.
I'm horny, but I'm not desperate. Shut up!
I mean, I'm desperate, but I'm not.
Shut up!
Okay.
The reason what you said hurt so bad is because I could see it in my mind's eye. I could imagine being the fish and making that sound.
Crawling into her stingray. Swimming upstream.
Okay, so I've never not wanted to think about pussy so badly in my life. Who knew? Who could have thunk that all it took was being in the same room as Ryan?
Well, you know what they call me.
Shut up! That's what I call you.
Yeah.
So,
The fucking.
you're going down to the depths of Hyrule with Zelda, and then she falls into a giant fucking hole, and she glows, and she disappears, and you wake up on a floating island, and a mysterious voice says, "Oh yeah, there's Zelda. Haha, just kidding, stupid. JK. Get gotted, dumbass."
Although technically she was kind of there from the beginning.
We're getting to it. Asshole.
Asshole.
So, obviously, the first thing I want to do when I get off the island, especially since there's a glowing fucking quest marker that pops up on the screen that's called Find Zelda, who'd have thunk the first thing I want to do isn't, oh, I wonder what the Gorons are up to. I want to find Zelda. What happened? Is she okay? Oh my god.
She fell and teleported.
She might be dead. She might be injured. She might be NTR'd by Ganon Dick. I don't know. What happened to the Master Sword? Did she do something with... What's going on?
Well, no, you had that, and then you just kind of sent it through time.
Yes. What happened to the Master Sword? So, I get down from the island, I see like these glowing geoglyphs, and I'm like, okay, that's kind of weird. I wonder what those are about. Go look out landing, talk to Pura. She's like, hey, go to Rito, dumbass, and maybe I'll blow your dick. I'm like, it's a pretty lucrative business deal. Alright. Start heading northwest, and I see Impa on the on the magic balloon.
Fair enough.
How many people are gonna get that reference?
Not me. I don't even know.
I have to show you Dr. Rabbit later.
Okay.
Dr. Rabbit and his magic balloon.
Okay then. Continue.
And I'm thinking of Dr. Rabbit. He's so funny. Every time I use the hot air
Granny Impa's magic balloon.
every time I use the hot air balloon in this game, throughout all 120 hours, all I could think of was Dr. Rabbit. I wish it were cursed with this knowledge.
Oh my god.
Do you know what it's like to be riding a fucking hot air balloon
Do you know what it's like
into
to
the
be...
sky, and all I could think about is brushing my teeth? Do you know what that's like?
Do you even know what it's like to be half upstream into Stingray Ocean and just fucking think of teeth brushing and Doctor Who, and you just know you don't know anymore, Drew. You don't got it. I feel like I'm the weird one.
Okay, do you see this? I have the talking stick.
I have the
My turn.
communication stick.
My turn. So I go see Impa, and she's like, hey, we're investigating these geoglyphs. I'm like, yeah, why not? I'm on my way to Rito Village. Whatever. It's cool. What are these glowing... Is it the Nazca lines? So I'm looking around, I see a little puddle. I'm like, Yona? I had to lean into it a little bit to deal with the utter embarrassment I felt when you called me literally a fishy.
That's fair.
It really is. Well, you understood that most of the time. So I press A on the little wet spot. I'm like, oh, what's this? It's kind of weird. And the flashback starts playing. I'm like, what? And then I find out that Zelda's back in time. Oh, what?
And she just met the Goat King of Hyrule.
And the hottest character in the game, who has so little porn. I'm disappointed in all of you. The instant I saw that mysterious woman in the third trailer, I'm like, I need her for the rest of my life. Man, I went on Paheel, and there's like 2 pages. What are you guys doing?
Roll 30 for it.
That Ryan, that's what that is. Paheel.
I don't know. I'm not cultured.
That's rule 34.
Where does this say that? All I see is roll 34. I'm on mobile. Maybe it doesn't say it. I don't know.
It's in the URL.
I don't pay attention to URLs.
How many viruses do you have on your phone then? Oh my god. Okay. Anyway. Fuck.
Fucking penis.
So, I I went to... Excuse me. I just really like Queen Sonia. I went to go look at all the other memories and the geoglyphs. And if you find all 12, you get the 13th one, and you find out really what happened to Zelda. And it's great. You have this mind-shattering, for you and her, revelation that she's become a dragon to heal the Master Sword, lost all of her normal sapience, and I feel like this may or may not be lost on some people, so this has to be stressed. She did not become a dragon and then warp to present day, so she's only been waiting for you for like a couple days. No, she's been up in the sky for, 10,000 years? She's just been hanging around, eating bugs,
even more,
healing the Master Sword.
I think it's supposed to be like she was up there for technically more than 10,000 years.
Really?
Because I think only the calamity started around 10,000 years.
Oh my god.
So yeah, she's been up there.
So maybe 100,000. Oh, that's awesome.
Even more.
That's great. That's even worse than... If it's worse than 10,000 years, you've got a bit of a pickle on your hands.
And the whole theory is that no one ever discovered... Obviously, only pure people can see dragons anyway, but like... She was... The reason... The retcon that they said that you couldn't see her in the old game was she was hidden in the cloud barrier, which is a Skyward Sword type thing.
Right. Which, yeah, you couldn't see Sky Islands either, so... Yeah, it makes sense. I love that it makes playing through Breath of the Wild even more tragic, because you want to go up in the sky and look for her, and you just can't. So it's really... Man, Breath of the Wild wasn't depressing enough, was it?
Now it's espresso depresso.
Does that mean they're kind of two Zeldas, though?
Yeah. No, that was... I saw a thesis statement saying, not only did Zelda have to... Oh god, this is the saddest shit, I swear. Not only did Zelda have to live up there for literally the entirety of Hyrule up until Link's time, she had to watch her own birth, the death of her mother. She had to watch Calamity Ganon fuck up her and all of her friends again.
How does that... Oh my god, how does that work? This is why we can't have time travel in games.
Well, no, it works conceptually because Zelda wasn't truly conscious. They say that at the end of the game is she wasn't truly conscious of like much of the time when she was a dragon.
No, but I just mean physically, at least for over 100 years, because, you know, Zelda lived her life and then she was holding Ganon back in Hyrule Castle, leading up to Breath of the Wild. And including Breath of the Wild. So she's there, and she's also a dragon in the sky. So how do we go back to having one Zelda? Like, do their existences just converge at the end of Tears of the Kingdom? Because, like, Dragon Zelda turns back to regular Zelda. How does that...
There's no real Zelda.
Oh, there's zero.
No. Well,
Zelda was never real.
No, it's... When Zelda glowed at the beginning of the game, she went back in time, right?
Right.
That means your current Zelda is gone. So there's no, like, fusion of the Zeldas. It's just that Zelda's gone, wiped off the face of the map. The only thing that is even close to her has been sent back in time and now just dwells.
Okay, right. So there is a point in time where there are two Zeldas, but it's only for that 100 or whatever plus years where this is so fucking weird.
It's weird, but
no, I do
there's
understand.
No convergence.
Yes, there's no convergence.
And
right.
So like at the end of the game, when you kind of like rescue her, she comes back and everything.
Yeah, right.
But she just basically says like, yeah, I remember very little of any of that time.
Given how repetitive the Sky Islands are, it's not like there's much to remember. Hello!
I wonder about that too, because it's like she... Can you imagine just being sad for like 100,000 years?
Why is it so funny when you put it that way?
Like, like, oh.
Can you imagine being sad for 20 years? Hi, I'm the CEO of PETA.
No,
and that's what it's like to be Dog Wolf. Please stop being evil.
Peter's gonna fucking do some shit with Zelda like, see, this is why you shouldn't mistreat people.
This is... Stop dragon abuse now. Call 1-800. Please stop abusing dragons. So that you can stop abusing...
And then you call, it's just 154184. Oh, no.
You know what's worse than PETA? Dragon PETA. Cryptid PETA, bro. You're just watching Married with Children reruns. You know, you're having a good time. You're sipping on your fucking Bud Light. Stop abusing leprechauns. Look at all of these leprechauns in the cages. Look at that.
Oh my god.
You know what's at the end of that rainbow? You monster. But it could be a pot of gold if you weren't so penny pinching. You never cared about the leprechaun. What were you talking about? Zelda's horrible existential crisis that spans literally hundreds of millennia. Yeah, but leprechauns are funnier.
Had a legit fear when she actually transformed.
Yes.
When the music stops and she just goes, protect them all, in the most heartbreaking voice I've ever heard, followed by her eyes fucking Majora masking, and then I'm immediately like, oh, and then she just fucking goes skyward, and I fucking like die inside. I'm like,
and I still have mixed feelings about the kind of voice that they gave direction for the VA to do, and it's still like it's just forced British accent, and I find that sometimes she can't emote properly because she's forcing an accent that she doesn't have in real life. With that said, I think generally she emoted some of her lines better in this game than Breath of the Wild. And the scream... the scream she lets out right before she transforms,
it's like fucking
made
haunting.
me actually that kept me up that night.
Yeah, it was so like legitimately frightening. I was like, oh my gosh. Like I was just watching and I was like, I almost feel like that would have been the perfect time for like a tear to just fall from my eye, and just like no, fuck it, like what? And then that realization that you have stood on that thing and actually just looked at it like, oh, what are you doing here, buddy? You weren't here before. And then you're just, every time you look at it now, you're like, oh. You're just fucking like, I'm sorry.
So, TLDL, Too Long Didn't Listen, I really loved all of that. And then as soon as you find out that Zelda's a dragon, I feel like everything goes downhill and the story ruins itself.
How so?
If you chose to go after the tears before engaging with the rest of the story, I feel like it's okay. Like, I can only assume this, but I've heard at least that other people didn't have the jarring experience that I had because they saved the tears until after they found all 5 stages and saved all the towns. But if you go find Zelda, which not only is one of the most compelling mysteries at the beginning of the game, but they literally give you a quest and it says find Zelda, it's like, okay, what the fuck do you want me to do? I'm gonna go find Zelda, right?
It means basically follow everyone's clues about what they say they've seen Zelda.
Right. But if you do the memories first, right? If you find all the tears, you
Which
find
I
out
didn't
Zelda's
do.
existence. Then, do you know how everyone reacts? They don't. You learn the greatest plot twist of the game. It is existentially terrifying and sad, and you really get caught up in the feels. And then you go save the towns, and everyone else has nothing to say. They keep saying, we have to go find Zelda. I wonder what happened to her. And at no point do you ever have the option of just saying, hey, I know where she is. I think it does happen, like, after you find all 5 sages and they're gathered in Lookout Landing, then Link can say it, but for the hours of gameplay before that, Link can't ever even have the option of opening his fucking mouth and just pointing right there. Riju, look, right there. Stop saying, where's Zelda? I'm crying. You're making me cry. Shut up. She's right there.
I actually kind of like that because every time that someone says, like, hey, we last saw Zelda over here, can you go check it out? I just imagine Link going,
See,
yeah, sure, I'll check it out.
That's kind of what I wanted to think at first, right? It's like, yeah, there's a dramatic irony to it, but when you're, like, playing through a game and you're Link and you're the character, and it's not just Link who knows, it's you who knows. And both you and Link could so easily just say, hey, I know where she is. And you can't. So it makes the game seem limited, and the characters you're interacting with seem stupid. It really sucks. But then, like I said, once you have all 5 sages, and they're gathered at Lookout Landing, which is basically the game telling you, hey, now go make preparations to fight Ganon. There is a moment where Link actually tells the characters what happened, and the characters all go, oh man, that sucks. Alright, I guess we go fight Ganon now. And I can't expect the characters to have as big of a reaction as the player will, of course, but after all of the literal nothing, because I did the tears first, right? It felt very, very jarring, and it sucks because the whole Zelda story, I think, is handled very, very well. It's just the game wasn't prepared for you to do it first, even though they kind of want you to do it first. Do you see why I mixed on this?
It's because you're supposed to be doing everything at once, and you're supposed to, like how I took time. That's fine. It's like how I took time between the surface, sky, and depths. It's like, okay, we'll do the Yiga clan, then do the regional phenomenon, then do a tier, then just keep going in that kind of order where it's just like, do whatever you're close to.
Right.
And because the game is kind of already like, hey, for the final tier, go out of your way to go to this place. It's not in anywhere that's close to the regional phenomenon, but when you're there, just kind of go there.
Yeah.
So it is kind of like, yeah, I'll get there when I get there.
I guess my issue with what I'm about to say is not specifically an issue with the game design, although I do think the game not really
There should have
having
been a
proper
restriction.
dialogue for...
There should have been
you
a
find
restriction
sisters.
until you, let's say you did all the tiers, then you
Then saved all the towns.
then saved all the towns. Then that should have happened.
Yeah.
That would have been a lot better contextual. Maybe.
The reason I id after that is because you can piece it together with, I think, 2 specific memories out of the first 12.
Well, yeah, you can piece it together.
So it's still kind
I
of...
pieced it together, but that cutscene mixed with the voice acting fills you with such a dread feeling.
Yeah, still, I do generally like the idea, though, that tier is saved for after you find all 5 stages. I think that would still help, because then at least all the sages and Pura, they respond in with proper timing. Like, Link doesn't just randomly wait 200 hours to tell them, and then they just go, oh man, that sucks, dude. Sorry, dude. You know? But my issue with the counter argument of, well, you're supposed to be doing a larger variety of things, is, but it's an open world game. I should be able to do whatever I want.
Yeah.
And I did, and I was punished for it because the game wasn't prepared for that. But, like, yes, it would make more sense, I guess, to do a variety of things all at once. If it's an open world and I can do whatever I want, then what is stopping me from doing one thing I like exclusively, you know? Especially the mystery. I love mysteries. Why would I not do that first? I can't be blamed for wanting to solve that too early. The game didn't stop me. And then I was punished for it.
Well, that's why I'm saying, like, when you do not just the tiers, but, like, also another thing with it to kind of, like, hold that back. Because, again, you can piece it together. That's fine. It's the actual confirmation of seeing it before your eyes.
Right, that should have been saved later. And I guess this is probably been a long time coming. I have to explain why I didn't do the dungeons for so long. I remember you expressing frustration with me when I said I've been exploring so much, but I just kind of need a break from the game because, you know, keep in mind, I also played Breath of the Wild for like another 100 hours, a whole new playthrough, like right before Tears of the Kingdom came out. And yes, it's my bad, right? Like, my mistake. I should have known that was going to burn me out, but, like, I just needed a break.
Well, can I just say why I got frustrated?
Yeah.
I got frustrated because you specifically had a problem with the Divine Beast, and I was trying to silently tell you, hey, these are a bit different than Divine Beasts. These are different in the way you approach them, in the way that they are. You don't just see them and go. You don't just see them for all they are right away. You have to actually engage with the plot that it wants you to. And it's like, I was trying to be kind of coy in it, and I guess that kind of hurt me more, but I was just trying to say, like, hey, these aren't exactly what you're thinking.
Right. But honestly, ultimately, I also found the story repetitive. Now, I feel the same way about the story.
Oh, there's a repetition in it. I cannot deny. If you want the perfect example of repetition in the story, after every single sage, you are served the same cutscene from a different character's perspective.
So that's the one thing that's brought up, but let me put it this way, and I don't expect everyone to feel the same way, but at least you can understand where I'm coming from. I put off the temples for a long time, but I started like half of them, right? So like I reached the Wind Temple with Tulin, and I reached the Water Temple with Sidon, and I had just started the quests with Yunobo and Riju, but I was like, no, I'm just going to keep exploring, because between Tulin and Sidon, these felt a little bit samey. Not in literally what you're doing. There is some variety there, and I appreciate that. I like that there's build-up to the temples, too. I think better build-up than the lead-up to the Divine Beasts. So it's still very much improved upon. However, if you kind of look at the bigger picture of what's happening each time, it feels repetitive to me, at least in the sense of, okay, so you find the sages, and there's a problem in their town, and you help them solve it, and then you go find the temple, and then you go with them in the temple, and you have their ability in the temple, and then you get the tier, and then you watch it. It's not just the cutscene of the ancient sage. In a broad kind of sense, at least, it all feels samey. What you're literally doing is more varied, but it's the feeling I had that, like, oh, this feels kind of similar. I kind of wish the progression to the temples felt a little different for each town.
See, they did feel different to me because...
Which I expect, because it's not literally the same thing. So I very much don't expect people to feel the same way that I did.
I think the one I liked the most was defending Gerudo Town.
And that was my favorite too. It's not literally the same. It's not like you had to defend Zora's domain, you know, like tower defense. Mm-hmm. But just kind of like what's happening narratively, like the journey you're going on with the sages to reach the temple, and then the ancient sage calls out, and they're like, oh, I think I heard that happens 4 fucking times.
Well, that cutscene, yeah, but I found the progression there, the gameplay different enough to kind of be like, you know what, I can accept this more mystical aspect of it far easier. And
I just wish in terms of the story and like how the sages hear the voices calling out to them and finding the temple was a little more different. But yes, the gameplay is varied enough. I feel the same way.
Again, I also try and factor in.
I'm just an asshole.
I'm also trying to factor in limitations of like, hey, we included all this stuff. Remember, we got to put a story in, and it's like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, they probably couldn't think of too many other alternative ways to go. So they're like, have the sages guide them.
Right.
It's like good enough. It's like not perfect, but it's good enough to get them to where they need to go.
Yeah. Again, I still think that the story is largely better. I like that you do get to interact with the sages more, which almost means more to me than actually learning about the sages as in-depth characters, but you get that too. Mm-hmm. Zelda's backstory and stuff, you know, the plot twist, it's all pretty good. But I don't know, man.
It's you encountered it differently.
It got old.
I think the problem for you was
you played the game wrong.
No, it's just that you discovered so much right away that it got boring to you, and because you explored the mystery so intensely and got that reward so early, you weren't intrigued with any of the concept because everyone throughout the entire game is always like, look, there's Zelda, and it's like you already knew what happened. You already knew, okay, well, this isn't going to lead me closer to Zelda because she's there. I know where she is. I just can't do anything.
Oh, we did forget to talk about the hottest character in the game, which is Phantom Demon Zelda. Holy shit.
Looks exactly like Zelda.
I know. That's the best part, baby.
The funniest thing was that
we just had to put it in an awkward pause, man.
Well, no, because I was thinking, I was reminding myself of, I didn't know that was a Phantom Zelda at first.
Yeah. So did you have the same assumption that I did, where you thought that Zelda was like brainwashed to be like following Ganon's orders, and that it was literally
had something
her?
like that, but then I remembered, no, it's not her. It's because Ganon uses the exact same magic on Queen Sonia.
Right.
It's a literal dummy.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh. So he's just and he's he's also trying to guide you to these bosses so they can kill you.
Yeah.
Which makes sense to me. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, that's a cool realization to have.
Yeah, and then I kept thinking, like, why isn't she in her, like, her blue outfit and stuff? And it's like, well, because that's the one Ganon saw. That's right. The one he knows. One of the other things that I thought was great, I'm trying to remember. Damn it. It was it was just such an effect of. Damn it! I can't remember what I was gonna say. Go ahead and say something. I can't think. I was lost. It was like
I'm really glad that I correctly predicted. It took me a while to have this prediction. To be sure, it was very late in my playthrough, but I'm glad I correctly predicted that. Because he had a Tear of Light, Ganondorf would have like a phase 1 where he just fights you normally, and then phase 2 is fuck it, I'm gonna turn myself into a dragon. That's great. Perfect.
He also has a weird, creepy transformation, which is good.
Yeah. Again, I did not fight Ganon. Unfortunately, I just didn't feel compelled to. It doesn't help that
Have you seen the fight?
I've seen bits of it. I don't know. I don't always enjoy the boss fights or the combat. Like, it's serviceable to me. It's fun enough, but like when I'm already kind of worn out by the game, I'm not feeling that compelled to go through the final area to go fight Ganon. Like it's cool, but it's just like, yeah, you know, I've had my fun. I'm gonna move on to another game.
I'd say do it once, just so you have that experience. Because it's like, once you do it once, you can just fuck off and do whatever. Forever. I
did get adventurous after, I think, the first. I had Tolan and Yunobo's spirits with me, and I decided to go in early and see what I could do. And I I got past the point where the sages can't help you anymore because Ganon hates you so fucking much. I was like, oh, no. No.
And the Phantom Ganon immediately spawns.
I'm surprised I even killed that. That was the first time I had ever actually killed a Gloomhand. So I didn't know they turned into Phantom Ganon, so when that happened, I was just like, what? And I know I could have ran past Phantom Ganon, but I just wanted to give it a shot. Man, that Phantom Ganon fight in Hyrule Castle, though, sucks. I hate it. I didn't die to it because I have 10 million healing items in my pocket at all times. I have instantaneous Thanksgiving every 5 seconds. But, man, it was tedious.
I just loved when...
It was a cool set piece, though, that there's more than one of them, and multiple times they have gloom spread out, so you have to go find a safe space. That's really cool.
I was so happy that the sages actually came. Because we always hear about, like, oh, the sage is helping you from afar, and I always assumed it's like, oh, okay, once they give you the avatars, that's it. They actually came. And I was like,
yeah,
this is great. I'm so glad they're actually here, because they're not just fucking emotionless avatars.
Right.
And then Riju puts it all together like, he must still be weak, or else he would come out right now. And
yeah, I had the same problem with the champions in Breath of the Wild that I do with how they portray Knuckles half the time in Sonic, where you meet this character and they're really cool, and they're like, okay, I'm gonna help you. Oh, awesome, dude, how? I'm gonna stand over there while you finish the game.
I'm gonna break one wall. I hope that helps. Could you do that more? No. One wall, because my hand hurts. So bye. But like, the thing that...
I'm not knocking Knuckles, because he already does that on his own. Knock, it's Knuckles.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Unlike Sonic, I don't chuckle.
But the other thing with the final boss fight is... I really want you to experience that final boss fight. Because there's so many levels to it where it's like... Yes. Like, I don't mean to bring this up, but it's like... I think every problem you had with Calamity Ganon is largely improved upon.
Yeah.
Because it's like...
Just that you even get to fight a dragon, like for real this time, not Nehru, is really cool.
Yeah, and I mean, not even just that, but like, the Ganon fight is just so much better. Like, the actual, like... Because there was the Calamity Ganon, he's just kind of like a large Guardian, or like a large Phantom Ganon that's like... Or a Blight. But, with this one, it's actually like the guy, and it's like...
Yeah, it's like the Twilight Princess fight.
It's almost like you're fighting yourself, because it's like, well, he...
Right, because, yeah, he can dodge and parry and flurry rush too, right?
Yeah, and I was not expecting that.
That's really cool.
Because he will double dodge you sometimes, and I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is fucking hard, and like, if you don't have the Master Sword, you are just fucked. And he... Hyrule Shield. Two hits.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have to complain about another thing.
What?
There's this otherworldly force compelling me. I don't know what it is. So, that was the other thing that really made the Zelda thing frustrating. Was on top of no one acknowledging her sacrifice. If you went out of your way to find the tears first, no one properly acknowledging her sacrifice. The other thing that was a letdown for me was she sacrificed herself for what? To restore the Master Sword so that you could save the day. So, and you have to tell me if I'm wrong, because seriously, I feel like I'm being gaslit here. There is no other moment of the game that made me feel as gaslit as what I'm about to say. I felt like Nintendo was pranking me. Okay, so, context for Breath of the Wild, right? Link is nearly killed. He's put in the Shrine of Resurrection. Hopefully 100 years is enough. Meanwhile, we're gonna put the Master Sword back in its pedestal in the Korok Forest. Have it heal, because it takes a very long time. Hopefully 100 years is enough. So, I figured that's why, contextually, the Master Sword breaks over time in Breath of the Wild because it's only been 100 years. That's not enough for it to be repaired from the state it was in 100 years ago, right? It's 60 power, so it, when you're fighting a Guardian, something that Ganon's possessed, so it's strong in that regard, but it will eventually lose its power and be basically nothing, and it needs 10 minutes every time to heal, right? I thought that was like a good contextualization of that mechanic. That was a good gameplay story integration. Even if I didn't exactly like how the Master Sword worked, I thought they justified it narratively. So in Tears of the Kingdom, right, we're comparing 100 years to, as you said, may not even be 10,000 years, but longer, okay? So now it's going to be stronger. It's exactly the fucking same. So Zelda did this for nothing. It's kind of how I felt. Not that the Master Sword is useless. No, it's very useful, but it's just that it feels exactly the same after 100 years that it did for who knows how long. Zelda I might never see her again. For all Link knows, he'll never see Zelda again. She might be a dragon for the rest of time, but at least she did this, and it's exactly the fucking same.
I can see what you're meaning. Yeah, this was something I thought of. I was like, maybe she was imbuing it with the ability to fuse. I don't.
Wow, great.
I'm not saying that's what it was. I'm just saying. I'm wondering if that's a problem.
I'm sorry, I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at the idea. Okay, if I can't make it stronger over the course of 100,000 years, maybe he can put a bat wing on it, and then he'll be able to defeat Ganon, the Demon King. Yes! We're going to make so much fucking money. Said Dragon Zelda softly.
My gosh.
The Master Sword isn't working. What do I do? Put a boulder on it! Great idea, princess! Zelda? Yeah? You turned into a dragon! Aw, shit, dude. What do I do? Put another boulder...
Okay, you can stop.
I do like that you can put a rock on the Master Sword.
I expected... long story short, yes. The Master Sword should not break, but I feel like that was... If it didn't break, or run out of power in this case, that's against the gameplay.
I do agree with that.
And that's the problem that they ran into, is like, well, logically, what you're saying makes sense. Gameplay-wise, though, we kind of need this to happen because then it's game-breaking.
Like, even if it were stronger but it still broke, that could be game-breaking in its own right. I'm not going to say that I have a better answer to propose. And I'm not blaming the writers or the gameplay designers for not having a better idea. It really is just kind of an unfortunate corner they wrote themselves into.
Yeah.
However, I can't help that I'm disappointed by it.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, that's exactly it. It's like, I understand your point completely. It's one of those things I completely overlooked because it's like, well, what else can you do? It's like, you can't make it invincible because then what's the point of any other sword?
Right.
What's the point of the game? It's like,
right.
You have to do something, and that really, like, at the very least, it doesn't break during your fight with Ganon.
Oh, it doesn't?
It does not. It does not break. Because if you're fighting Ganon and you have the Master Sword, you can only exclusively use the Master Sword.
Which makes narrative sense.
So it's at least got that. So I'll give it credit there, but it's like,
I'm guessing it does more damage than any other weapon you could use.
Pretty much. And no, I don't think it does more damage. I think it's just that's the narrative. That's the narrative they're trying to push.
It's the tagline for Tears of the Kingdom. You can put a boulder on it.
Well, actually, I'm trying to think because when I went in, I hadn't fused anything to the Master Sword. So
it was the first thing I did when I got the Master Sword. I put a rock on it, and then the rock disappeared, but like it still got the power boost. I'm like, okay, it's Ghost Rock now.
And then when you swing it, it turns into it.
Yeah.
But no, I completely understand why you felt the way you did. I don't know. I just can't be disappointed with this game because it's so much more than I initially expected. I always this is also a very big difference between us that I wanted to bring up. You have expectations that are astronomically higher than they ever should fucking be.
Yes.
You have such high expectations, I almost don't see how you can keep them sometimes.
I don't know how either. I don't choose to have these expectations. They're always in the back of my head. You don't understand how much I wish I could lower my expectations so much. But I also just think ultimately that an open world game is not going to reach my expectations because the scope is just too big for those expectations to be met. So that's part of why an open world game just isn't for me.
I think for me it's that I always keep my expectations out. Like for context, we're recording this on
August 2nd.
Yeah, I think it's August 2nd today, and yeah, it is because I remember we're recording this on August 2nd. On August 5th, I'm going to a wrestling show. I have no expectations. I'm a little excited, but until I'm actually there, I'm not gonna feel anything. Right. So like that was this whole time for Tears of the Kingdom. I was trying to hype myself up. I didn't really feel it. So once I actually sat down and played the game, once I'm there because I've had so many things in my life ripped out from under me, to where it's like, fuck, man, I thought I was there, I wasn't.
Yeah.
So when I'm actually sitting down and playing it, I just appreciate it.
Yeah. I'm just glad you can understand at least it's not a conscious decision for me to have such high expectations.
I understand. It's just I'm just saying that's another difference between us. That I think like you're already not super into open world like I am, and you can appreciate it, but you're not as like invested in it as I am.
I just don't get as much into the gameplay loop because again, I'm more invested than you could possibly understand when I'm just kind of exploring, like just the base primal instinct of I want to see what's over there. What is that mountain peak obscuring? What's in that valley? What's in that cave? That's all exciting. But once the nature of the gameplay hits and you're kind of finding the same stuff everywhere, that's when it loses its magic. And listen, the same thing happens in real life. Sometimes I'll take trips to different cities around us and like, oh, what's there? It's coffee shops and museums. What's over there? It's coffee shops and museums. And maybe they have like a botanical garden, right? Yeah. It's kind of the same thing that I have in these games.
But that's...
What I'm trying to say is real world needs to stop being open world. It sucks! It's bad game design! Come on, city planners, get it together.
I did want to bring up a few of my negatives on the game, which are, where the hell did all of the Sheikah technology go?
It is genuinely surprising to me that there's not at least, like, one spot in the underground where, like, you find out this is where all the Sheikah tech was before it came out of the ground during the events of Breath of the Wild. Because that's what it was, right? Like, the 4 pillars surrounding Hyrule Castle were, like...
They were under.
Huge storages of like guardians, right? So they should be, you know?
I think the workaround from that, this is stupid, but because there's kind of like a lake around Hyrule Castle, it's like, oh, they were all in there, and it's like, it's still bullshit. It's still pretty much bullshit. But
I don't even know if they're gonna do that in the DLC. They may not even do that.
No, I did want to bring up DLC, and I will in a sec, but another con I wanted to mention is the requirements for upgrading armor is ridiculous.
I didn't think it was so... I didn't think it was more ridiculous than it was... Now, keep in mind, the the highest rating I got for armor was collectively a 24, so like 8 for the headpiece, the torso, and the legs, right? So you probably are complaining about past that, but like, okay, like I found the getting the ingredients.
Some level 2s are just bullshit.
I found getting the actual ingredients more annoying than the rupees. Cause like you can kind of make money anyway, but with gems it's typically easy. Whereas like when I have to go get 7 Fire Lizalfos tails and they're only in one region,
and they're rare spawns,
it's like, oh shit. But like then the 1,000 rupees on top of that, there's a mine right over there. I'll go sell some topaz and rubies, and I'm there.
My problem basically comes from the facts of it's a lot of gems that they also want you to use to upgrade your armor, and it's a lot of horns.
Yeah.
You're taking my weapons now, game. I need those. So you're causing difficulties for me when you're asking for 3 at the same time and then 5 the next time. This is my strongest weapon, and you're taking it. It's like, I get very anal about that, and my final complaint as a whole is the Great Fairies are tedious. Their missions are very, very tedious.
I enjoyed it at first,
I did
but
too.
It got old by the 4th time, unfortunately.
I discovered it by accident. I saw a guy in a ditch, and I was like, oh, I'll help him out.
Oh, that was my second. Yeah, that was the most fun.
That was the most fun. And that was when I had the most fun with it. And then I was like, oh, okay. And then I started having less and less fun with it. But DLC ideas, or do you have any other cons that you want to bring up?
Shockingly, I don't think so. I think I went over my biggest issues.
I actually have a question for you, and it's a legitimate question. You
Oh no, there is one more. It never ends.
What?
The complaining never ends.
Well, we're on cons now, so what is it?
I kind of brought this up with that video, Tears of the King Wants You to Cheat, which goes into kind of the purpose of Ultra Hand, Fuse, and the Zonai devices and how they help you get around. Not just the sky, but everywhere. And I'm already kind of conflicted because I wonder if you had the same thought as I did, but kind of the first place I wanted to explore right from jump was the surface world, because before I wanted to deeply explore the skies and the depths, I wanted to find out how much Hyrule had changed. But then I started relying on Zonai devices more, so I found I was more inclined to just explore the sky, just explore the depths, and just look around Hyrule for like the towns and the towers, and then not really much else unless I wanted to go to a shrine. I didn't want to intricately explore the landscape quite as much as Breath of the Wild. It wasn't a huge issue though. He's already shaking his head though. But
That wasn't me, but
however, I thought that was pretty well balanced out by the fact that I had to go find flying machines to use. There are designated spots where they'll give you a glider or a hot air balloon. And they're also not that common at all on the surface. That's very much more of a sky and depths thing. So even if you find one in the sky and you want to take it around right above the surface, they're probably going to break before you can really utilize them if you've gone that far of a distance. But it took me a while to find this because you can only get auto build until after you beat one of the dungeons, one of the temples. You can't go out of your way just to find it on its own. But after a first dungeon, you get auto build. And auto build, I think, is besides, generally finding the same kinds of stuff, the gameplay loop over and over again. Auto build, I think, really ruined the game for me because, again, this is going to be something that is very much dependent on like players and their different like motivations and what they find fun, and like the tricks they fall back on for dominant strategy, which, as we talked about in the first video, that's not often a conscious decision. It's just like
This is what you do because you know it works.
You know it works, and you kind of can't help it. It just kind of becomes instinct that you're annoyed by, but like you're not annoyed enough because you find that it still gets you what you want. So you kind of skip over the journey to get right to the destination, and even though you're pissed off, you went on that journey in the first place to get to the destination. So it becomes this horrible feedback loop between you wanting to have fun and your subconscious desires of instant gratification. I say all this because auto build ruined me. Maybe I should say it ruined me, not the game. I think that'd be more accurate to say. But I keep going back and forth on whether or not auto build should have even been included in the game, because it is a really cool idea to find different schematics. Not even that. It's not just schematics you can build. It's anything you built for like the last 10 hours. Yeah, do you want to do that again?
Left 30 builds.
Even the ones in shrines. When I found out I could build something I made in a shrine, I was floored. Maybe that doesn't sound that weird, but it just, wow, like, okay, I'm not really being limited at all. But I already kind of felt like, man, Zonai devices are just, they're like way too useful. But now I can build them at any time, and for the cost of what? Either your parts, or if you don't have the parts, a little bit of Zonite, which is not at all hard to find or hard to get, because you go to the depths, you go to a mine, you mine it. Okay.
Well, it depends on how much you want to improve your battery.
Yes,
because
I found out about how to upgrade that stuff after getting auto build, and I really have no excuse for that. I am a dumb motherfucker because they tell you that on the Great Sky Island.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally right next to the last shrine.
Right next to the last shrine.
So I mean, I clocked that and I was like, oh, so I should conserve my Zonite.
I just glossed over it because I was like engrossed in like what the sky looked like and wondering where Zelda was. I'm not saying I have an excuse. But
I think, and this is why I often feel like, God, I wish I could just hold your hand and walk you through the game so you have a better experience, but then
I'm supposed to play it my way.
I know, but then you fucking ruin yourself.
But okay, I'm kind of blaming auto build though, because using Zonai devices.
See, but I was taught by the energy cell to conserve my Zonite. You just used it willy-nilly. So you never had any sort of stakes involving your Zonites. You never conserved like, oh yeah, I'll save this and this and this and this and this and this. No, it just fucking.
That's true, because by the time I found auto build, I had like 200 pieces of Zonite, and even building something where you have none of the parts, it's like, what, 15, 20 pieces? It's ridiculously paltry, the amount they ask you of. It's not something you really have to think about. That's the issue I ran into, is I had so much, and they were asking me so little to, any time that I had to travel a great distance horizontally or vertically, excuse me, I was just like, man, this would be really interesting if I had to climb or paraglide or create some wind with fire, or I'll just build a hot air balloon. The number of times I had to go, well, not had to though. Let me fix that. Number of times where riding Dr. Rabbit's magic balloon was so clearly and obviously the easiest way to get where I wanted to go. So of course that's what I was gonna do, because I had Zonite. Even if I didn't have the parts, it barely cost anything, and it became the dominant strategy, and it ruined the depths for me. Particularly the depths, because I found a lot of areas late into my playthrough where there was a great height to climb. So I would just build a hot air balloon. or there was a great distance to fly in the sky, so I just built a plane. I didn't even use the ones that were there. I would be sitting right next to a plane and rockets and fans, and I would just build one because that would take like 40 seconds to use Ultra Cannon. I'm just gonna do this.
See, that just wasn't me. I climbed all those surfaces. I glided to all those areas because I was told, conserve your zonite.
But by that point in the game, because I found auto build so late, I didn't need to. So it really is unfortunate because yeah, every single way that you went about the challenges, the way that I didn't do it would have been more fun, but you have to understand, by the time I found auto build, I was already getting tired of a lot of the depths being the same and a lot of the sky being the same in particular. So of course, I'm gonna use the devices to skip the boring parts and see what's at my destination. But then that also became more the same. So I started getting desperate, like, okay, the depths in the sky must have something fucking crazy, right? There has to be some crazy shit, like what's beneath Hyrule Castle, or I'll find some crazy story thing, like something else besides Zelda's turned into a dragon, some new plot twist. So I kept using devices to get over the boring stuff, and then at the end, for me and my motivations, I got boring stuff. It'd be another chest in the sky, it'd be another Yiga schematic. Drew doesn't know how to have fun. The novelization.
You really don't. And I'm sorry to confirm what you just said, but like, you really just did. God bless you. You did like most things wrong.
But it's
and I'm not even saying wrong. I'm just saying like,
because no, it's kind of right though that you say it's wrong. But it feels so weird because why is there a wrong way to play an open world game? You're exactly right. I did play it the wrong way, but is it my fault? Kind of not. It's really weird.
It's because, and the reason I say it's your fault is because yes, we brought up dominant strategy. I think even in dominant strategy, you have to have that moment where you pull back. You just never pull back. You're always like, well, I'm just going to keep doing this because I want to. And that's fine. That's fine, but like, you were ruining yourself and you didn't feel anything anyway, but you didn't change it up.
Right.
You didn't look at the schematic differently. You just kept going. And it's like, well, then that's kind of on you because you didn't change up how you approached things. You just kept going. And that's kind of where that, in my opinion, the beauty of Tears of the Kingdom lies. Like, I did so much of the groundwork that when I discovered, hey, I can build a flying machine and actually just go across and do stuff, like with like when I made the 2-fan 1 control stick bike, I would still run into shit because I didn't put a light on it. Right. I would just be hopelessly gliding through and being like, hope I don't run into anything. And I often had Yunobo on the front, and he would like kind of light my...
Why'd you do it?
I would kind of...
I had to throw that in somewhere, I'm sorry.
And I would like look around and say like, okay, what happened here? And I did that very late into the depths. So I don't think you can blame the developers for that.
I'm definitely not going to blame the developers. I think it's... I don't want to place it squarely on me, though. I think you could definitely argue that it's mostly me, but you have to think about it this way. If you give the player such powerful tools, can you blame them for wanting to use them all the fucking time? Especially when you really don't have to experiment that much once you find out the most helpful things to build.
I can blame you when you're not having fun. Because why are you still going?
Because I kept wanting to find more interesting things. I wanted to prove to myself that the world wasn't actually as repetitive as I thought.
But you're literally flying over all of it.
Right. But... And
it's dark and you can't see. And I'm talking about the depths right now. But like, it's dark, you can't see, and you're still going. And that's, again, you're within your full right to do it. I completely agree with you. I completely say, like, you know, it's an error on the developers not to kind of force you to find more interesting shit.
Right, but it's also just kind of the nature of an open world game. It would feel kind of weird if they didn't let you do that. So
that's the thing. It's knowing that restraint to hold back, and for me, it's, I don't know, maybe this was a feature to you. In Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, Miraidon only flew so far before he dropped like a brick. Maybe that's what helped you, encouraged you to not just fly over shit. But for me, that's kind of a disadvantage where it's like, well, I want to fly over shit.
Right.
And I want to be like, okay, that's a landmark, I want to come back there. You would just kind of be like, okay, well, that's a stone. I've fucking seen a stone. And then you'd be like, okay, that's a plant. Fucking 100,000 of those.
Right.
For me, that's like, oh, that's another thing.
Well, also understand that I was way more engrossed. We'll use a specific example, although it applies broadly both of our points to how we felt about the entire game. But we'll stick with the steps thing you're going on. So you have to understand that because I found auto build so late in the game, well, this isn't a because, but keep in mind, I also didn't build much in the depths, even though there are numerous stations where they give you Zonai devices to build. I chose not to build them then for the first like 100 hours of gameplay because I did think to myself, yeah, climbing and paragliding is going to be more interesting. So that's what I did for tens and tens and tens of hours. And what did I get for it? Well, okay, there's some cool mines here, and there's some cool mini-bosses here. And then I found those same things over and over and over and over and over again. So of course, now that I have auto-build much later on, now I want to skip over it. Because, you know, exploring the mines used to be intrinsically fun. Combat used to be intrinsically fun. But for me, it's not changed up enough. Because I guess it kind of has... I feel like the game needs to change more for me to be engaged in it. There's a lot you can do as a player in a game like this to change it up yourself, but it's just, for whatever reason, I'm not inclined to do it. I fall back on the same habits, so combat gets older for me more than it does other people. But then the reason that I don't eventually change it up anyway is because... I am more extrinsically motivated, so I start thinking about, okay, well, I could change up the combat, but I care more about the reward than actually fighting. So what am I going to get for it? More monster parts. Yeah, the rewards are better than Breath of the Wild, but it's like Breath of the Wild in that you keep getting the same stuff. You keep fighting the same fights for monster parts. So because I want the reward more than the combat, the destination more than the journey, why do I want to engage with the journey? And that's why I started engaging in the really cheap shit. For fights, I would keep using the stages. For exploring, I would keep just building automatic stuff. It's not because this is the most fun way to play the game. I did that because I felt I wasn't having fun, so I kind of just wanted to get to the rewards, the destinations, and prove to myself that I'd find more interesting stuff than I did in the first 20 hours of the game, and it just never happened. And I shouldn't have expected it to, but that's what went through my head.
I can tell you right now that you have missed a lot. Like, I'm not going to say, like, oh, you missed this amazing feature. It's like, there's a lot of interesting things that you passed over. A lot of, like, specific areas that I could point out on my map to be like, there's this, there's this, there's this, there's this, there's this. So there are things, it's just that you weren't... They weren't motivators for you.
Right, and I do also kind of question if I would have found those places as interesting as you, because you still have a fondness for the combat and for the various puzzles. You have more intrinsic motivation on your part than I do. So I probably would have gone to those places and been, wow, this looks really cool, but that's kind of all the appeal I see. I'm not really interested in what's actually here in this interesting place. So, okay, this is fine.
Fair enough.
That's kind of how I felt about the mines. That's kind of how I felt about the Thunderhead Isles, right? Or like the underground cemetery in the Gerudo regions. Yeah, this place looks cool. What's here? Bunch of Gyptos. I've already fought 60 of them. I'm not gonna do it again. So
I like
it looks cool, and that's kind of.
I like a lot of the Colosseums and whatnot, and how they give you special rewards for completing them.
Yeah, I will say the Colosseums are the most fun I had with the combat, but I didn't engage in very many of them, to be fair. Those and the Flux Constructs, just in general, both underground and in the sky, were the most fun I had with combat. And I guess a close second place would go to the enemy encampments that you would team up with the other Hylians for, but I also didn't engage in many of those either because once I did 3, I knew the others would feel the same. And I
didn't do those until the very end.
Yeah. No, I did like 2 or 3 very early on, but then, you know, Drew hates fun, so if it's even remotely repetitive, he calls the game bad, and then he cries, and then he dies.
A point I wanted to make, I specifically wrote a point about the video Drew showed me. Cheating is only cheating when you think of this game in the style of the older games. This game isn't asking you to cheat. To me, it was asking me to outsmart it.
Yeah.
I never thought of it as cheating. I always thought of it as, well, what is your brain telling you? Because based on what you have in your head, see if you can do it. Oh, you couldn't do it. But what if you did it like this?
Right.
And you moved forward. And that's kind of like where I was always thinking. I never stopped to say, well, I could skip over this, but my question was always, what if I skip over something that really fascinates me?
Right.
And I wanted that. I wanted to be like, I can't skip it. I can't skip it. Until I had mapped out most of the underground, and then I was like, okay, once I'm finished mapping it out and unlocking the map, then I can look at the map and see certain spots up close and see what's going on. Because that was my main motivation, was if I'm going to see something, I'm going to see it up close and I'm going to get it.
Yeah.
So that was more or less why I stuck around with that. I just don't think that cheating, in air quotes, is exactly what I would call the functionality of this game. I would say outsmarting.
Yeah, it very much depends on the player's mindset. I think the overall message of the video is really just exactly what you explained. It's just cheating is kind of what some people might think about on a very surface level. So I don't think the title perfectly describes the content of the video, unfortunately. Many such cases. But that's how I felt about the Zonite devices at first. It's when I got auto build and I had so much Zonite that it started feeling like cheating. Kind of not really, because again, that whole issue also came from how repetitive I felt the content, both in terms of journey and destination. So it kind of felt dirty and like I should be engaging with the game, but I know if I keep engaging with the game in the same way I have, it's gonna get even more old, because I know I'm not gonna find anything new. But then I'd take that copium, and then I'd be like, well, okay, if I just build this and go over there real quick, maybe I'll find something new. Never did. Let me tell you something. This is not the game's fault, but it's just an unfortunate happening that happened to me because Tears of the Kingdom won't let Drew have fun, or Drew won't let Drew have fun in Tears of the Kingdom. It had been a while since I played the game. I took must have been like a month break or something, just playing other games, watching other shows.
Mm-hmm.
But then I went over to your house. We were hanging out just for a few hours, as we do, and you start up Tears of the Kingdom, and you go to, was it Toblio Hollow?
I don't remember. Yeah.
A hollow with the Zonai statue, and there was a huge opening behind it, and you said, this isn't like a cave, it just leads to the depths. It leads to somewhere really interesting in the depths. And I'm like, okay, well, where does it take you, right? Because it's probably just kind of the same old place that I've seen in the depths. He's like, that's story spoilers. And I'm like, oh fuck, this is what I needed. This is something new. This is the motivation I needed to engage with the story. even though the 4 quests feel a little bit samey, like, okay, no, I'm gonna go do those now. And I had enough fun with them. They were okay. But I did it all to get to that point, because I'm like, if he said story spoilers, it's fucking crazy. What is gonna be there underground? So I did the Thunderhead Isles, and I followed the laser, and Mineru's super fucking hard. God damn it, why is she like 9 feet tall? God! And then I went into the cave, and do you know what I found? I found a mine that I had found 40 hours earlier.
I didn't know.
You can just find that on your own. Nothing's stopping you. You can just find that place. The difference is you can't interact with the statue that's there, who's kind of Minoru. Why is she in the prayer pad the whole game? Does that even like really mean any? Does that have implications? Anyway,
she's the Sage of Spirit.
But,
she can move. She can take her spirit out of her body and put it in other things.
But what is the implication for being in the prayer pad? Like, does it like grant Link an ability really, or is she just there to
it just granted her the ability
to see what he's doing?
It granted her the ability to get to where Link was then.
Okay.
Or, like now, so that she could help him.
Did Zelda have the prayer pad in the past? And that's how she got in? Or is it just kind of something you never see?
Yes, she had it in the past.
Okay.
Because,
I guess I forgot about that detail then.
Because in the beginning of the game, statue hands it to you.
Yeah,
So.
right. Okay. Anyway, I found that mine hours earlier, and you can't do anything there, but then again, all the mines are kind of like that too. You just go to the mine, you mine some Zonite, and it looks cool. You fight some constructs, okay. And that's exactly what that place was. Except when you go there after doing story content, now it's like a mini dungeon where you do 4 puzzles, you get her limbs for the robot. And it's like, oh, okay. I guess this is the grand place that's been waiting for me. And you know, like getting the limbs to the central temple was like kind of fun. Okay, I had fun with those puzzles. And it was definitely interesting because I didn't think Link would ever talk to Mineru in the present time. I thought, oh, she's just a character that's going to be in flashbacks. So like, okay, cool. And I'm building a robot, but like, why am I building a robot? And then you assemble it, and she is the robot. She's she's using as a host. That's super sick. But then the disappointment was kind of compounded by when I was taking her to the other temple, the Temple of Spirit or whatever, where you have the Rock'em Sock'em boss fight for reasons. It's very weird. Not bad, it's just weird.
Yeah,
anyway,
it happened.
It was all kind of compounded, my disappointment, by the fact that I did not think she was cool as like a secret fifth sage. Like, thinking of it like literally, like, yeah, you can attach whatever you want to her limbs, but I don't know, just like, I think it was riding her specifically that wasn't very interesting to me. Because, like, yeah, you can make her jump up if you have a rocket, or you can go like a little bit faster if you attach a fan, but it still didn't feel fun. It was very clunky, and I understand that's the point, but it felt more limiting than just using regular Zonai devices, and yet they're treating it like this is some cool secret reward, so it felt a little jarring to me. But yeah, she does have actual utility. I'm not saying she doesn't, it's just I didn't find interest in it.
The other thing that I just wanted to add really quick was that
Mineru's so fucking fun.
The other thing I wanted to add was that whenever I got a new stage, I was immediately excited because it felt like I'd been building up this small army.
Yeah.
And so, like, whenever I raided a base, like, because you could, I had gone in and done a lot of, like, sneaking in bases and slowly took out enemies before they all fucking came at me.
And then you get Yunobo.
No, even with him, I still had some trouble.
Oh, I did too, but still, having him blast off at sonic speed and causing a fiery explosion.
Yeah, but then you also have to approach him somehow and press A during the middle of battle, which is another thing, but...
I do have some issues with... I always felt that using the UI at some points was clunky. Like, same in Breath of the Wild, cooking is just, you have to select these 5 things and then you go here. Feels a little unintuitive the way it's handled. Or like fusing a thing to my weapons always felt really clunky. You can't just go in the menu and do it. You have to use the D-pad in the middle of combat. And that stuff kind of started to get to me, but I had no greater issue with the controls in the UI than interacting with the fucking sages when I need them to, especially during the Phantom Ganon boss fight, where there's a million of them, and they're not doing enough on their own because their AI is just kind of okay, and they'll attack once every 5 years. So like, they're doing some stuff, just not as often as I need them to. So I have all 4 of them out because, yeah, Phantom Ganon is kicking my ass. I need all 4 of them. So I'm gonna go to Riju because she's the most useful. Oh, wait, it's Sidon. Okay, well, let me go back to Riju. Fuck. Loading. Even though I didn't get to use her ability because Sidon wants me to splish splash like a fishy. Real helpful against Phantom Ganon, you fish fuck. Why can you not just go in the if I can go in the menu and eat a Thanksgiving dinner, why can't I just go in the menu and hit Riju's Lightning Fucky Wucky?
Yeah, it's a bit confusing. I'm not entirely sure why, but
I think that's my last big complaint with your favorite game of all time, so I can stop ruining your day now.
Any I hesitate to ask any DLC ideas.
The only broad kind of idea I came up with, besides finding Sheikah Tech for a bit of a Breath of the Wild throwback, which I don't actually think they'll do. Nothing's stopping them, but just... or the frog people in the depths. I still... What would even be the implication? It's so weird. Anyway, my one idea is Link going back in time and helping the older sages so we get to learn who they are too. I feel like that's kind of earned now that we've interacted enough with the present day sages that now we can go learn about these characters too. Whereas in Breath of the Wild it felt like here's the champions but we don't really get to see enough of them, and then the DLC had to be like, okay, hold on, we'll let you see more of them. It kind of felt like we have to fix this.
Yeah.
I feel like the sages were handled really well in Tears of the Kingdom, so now you've seen these characters but you don't even know their names. Let's let you meet those characters, either through going back in time or like getting memories of them,
challenges
unlocking
by them,
like new shrines,
yeah,
right? Something like that.
One of the ideas I had was a depths temple for a secret rune.
What kind of rune?
This is an idea I came up with because this game seems to really be fucking butt-fucked focused on the sky, even though I'm not that excited about it.
Yeah.
I had an idea for, because the last game had the motorcycle, a Zonai Loftwing rune. Like a creature.
Oh, like it's a mechanical bird?
Yeah.
Ooh.
So that was my idea, and to kind of also throw in a little reference there.
That's cool, yeah.
So that was my idea. I don't know what a temple in the depths would entail, but I imagine you'd learn some stuff about it and be like, oh, hey, there was this secret artifact that we had, and you need to overcome these challenges to do it, or something like that. So,
look, this is an aside, but it's not that weird because the depths are very much extremely tall, much taller than I think we ever could have anticipated.
Yes.
But regardless, I found it weird that none of the caves, I think maybe besides 1 or 2, ever connected directly to the depths. I would have expected at least a handful of them to, but a couple did. The only 2 I can think of are the secret royal passage, which kind of leads to the depths, I guess, not really, and Toblio Hollow, but that's not really a cave in the same way that the others are with like enemies and items and stuff. It just, you start on the surface and you walk to the depths instead of falling.
What did you think of the well?
I actually never found it.
Like, I can show it to you.
I looked for it after you told me about it, but like, that's not a well that leads to a cave that leads to the depths, right? That's just a well, and you start skydiving into the depths.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Just weird.
There's a lot of different things they could do. I'm not entirely sure, but I don't know. I definitely understand, and one of the things I was kind of disappointed on was you in Breath of the Wild you had a lot of shit to say. Well, not a lot, but you definitely didn't like swimming in the game. And then I remembered last night, I was like, wait a minute. Sidon helped you swim in the Divine Beast thing. And I was like, I wonder if you can get on his back, and you couldn't. And I was kind of like, I felt like it should have been a feature once you got Sidon's avatar that you could ride on him. I was like, that's kind of...
So that way you can, without using up Zonai devices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt like that would have been a good detail. I don't know, maybe that could be a patch type thing, but I mean, I know a lot of people are really obsessed with the Zonai devices, but I would have liked the
at least another
sages
option
to have a bit more, because I think of it this way, where it's like a lot of the sages don't, well, some of the sages don't just have battle functionality, they also have just commonplace functionality.
Yeah.
Where Tulin obviously helps you in the sky, you can obviously use Yunobo to help you mine. Riju doesn't really have one, but Sidon, I thought, well, why doesn't he help you in water? He's clearly equipped for that. So that was kind of my thinking on it. So, and obviously Riju, I'm fine with her just being a strictly battle person.
Because she's so useful. Oh my god! If there
I
was
actually
one
just thought
person
about it.
I
Why
kept
not just push down the right stick and then, like your
like a
your
wheel.
runes, like a wheel, just have it be like, okay, I want you to do this thing, activate it.
Yeah.
That would be useful. And so, I don't know. These are things that could patch in. These are things that could really help.
I am glad I at least got to explain why I'm objectively wrong. No, on a serious though, I am glad I got to kind of help you understand my perspective. It's kind of a shame we can't just choose to enjoy things more or choose to be motivated by different things on the fly, but ultimately, I just enjoy other things more. I started really thinking about, after I got sick of this game, like, well, why specifically? Like, not just, like, I knew what I found kind of repetitive or disappointing about Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, obviously, but I was like, okay, why do I enjoy the other games I play? Because I've never thought about why I really enjoy other games. It's more easy for me to think about what I don't like than why I like what I do. So for a couple days, I was really in this headspace. I was like deep in this fucking sauce. Like, why do I enjoy like Sonic, or why do I enjoy like Smash Brothers? Right? Like, there's reasons. There's reasons these games make me feel the way I feel, or they get me in a certain headspace. And while I couldn't figure it out for other games, I've been waiting this whole conversation to get up to here.
Go for it.
This is really like my final manifesto. But I found out why, in comparison to open world Zelda or open world in general, I really enjoy. I think I can definitively call it my favorite genre, Metroidvanias, because they are very different from open world, but I think they kind of give me the feeling of immersion that other people get from open world.
I can define Metroidvanias for me as the open world of 2D games.
Kind of.
For me, that's how it feels.
But there's a distinct difference, because open worlds typically give you all the tools you need from the start, then they say you can go anywhere. Metroidvanias pull this psychological trick on you a couple actually, but namely, look at this beautiful world. Start exploring it. This is really interesting, but you can't go here, or you can't interact with this object. And it makes you wonder why you can't do it. What do I have to do to get here? It makes you feel a little upset, a little frustrated, but you get that motivation, like, okay, fine, I can't do this, well, I'm gonna go fucking figure out how to do it. Game, right? You are motivated through the limitation that's being put on you. So you go find a way to have your way, and it guides you to a power-up that not only lets you go where you wanted to go in the first place, but you realize, oh, all these other places I found, now I can reach there because I have whatever, ice beam, double jump, wall jump, blah blah blah. And I think the best Metroidvanias use their power-ups not just as tools for traversal, but equally useful in combat. So like, a double jump lets you not just reach a greater height, but lets you dodge an enemy attack so efficiently. Or like, one of my favorite examples of this is the Ice Beam Metroid, because I think even in the 3D games, even in Prime, they let you do this. Freezing enemies doesn't just make combat easier so that you blast them with one missile and they're fucking done, or pause them so you have time to get ready for what you're going to do next, but you can also use them as platforms to get to high places, which is that's just the sickest thing to me. Cool. But all this to say is, Tears of the Kingdom helped me realize this game fucking sucks. And instead, my favorite game of all time, he just rolled his eyes in it was like 2 frames of anger. I think my favorite game of all time is Hollow Knight, because I think better than any other Metroidvania I've played, it not only has the most interesting tools for both combat and traversal, but Hollow Knight does something really different from most Metroidvanias I've played, in that most Metroidvanias are kind of like labyrinths, right? Most Metroidvanias take place in a confined area. It's not open air. Yeah. It's you're going through tunnels and hallways and temples and dungeons, but you're never like in the open world. You're never like on the surface of somewhere. Mm-hmm. So you're going through nooks and crannies trying to find the right way. But what a lot of Metroidvanias do is they give you a power-up that lets you access all these places you couldn't go before. But let's say there's 10 places I can go now that I have the fucking screw attack. 9 of them are going to be missile upgrades or health upgrades, or a map or an extra save room, and only one of those 10 places I couldn't get before is the right way forward, and there's only one right way forward. So Metroidvanias will take you in this kind of like, you're going here and here and here and here and here and here and here, but it's still linear because there's only one order you can go in. Hollow Knight, though, starts you off linear. You go through like, what is it, like the Forgotten Crossroads, and then Green Path, and then a bit of the Fungal Waste, and then a bit of the City of Tears. That's all linear, and I wish it didn't last so long, but once you get to the City of Tears, and you have a few specific power-ups by then, which you will have no matter what, you can go multiple places at once. And it's not just that point in the game, it's the rest of the game. Do you want to go get the dive attack that helps you access 4 more entire regions? Or do you want to go get the double jump, which you can do right now and save the dive for later? Or do you want to go get the crystal dash? Or anything? The entire rest of the game, so like 4/5 of your playtime, is going to be doing things in whatever order you want. You can't go literally anywhere, but the feeling of having just a little bit to explore on a set path, to, oh my god, the world's opening up, to, oh my god, it's really opening it up. And then by the end, oh my god, I can go anywhere. That progression, that step-by-step progression, that still allows you to do things in the way you want for the most part, I prefer that over go wherever you want, whenever you want from jump. Because it feels kind of like a building of
the world. I mean,
a building of world, but it's also a building of you. That's also why, like,
you like progression.
For open world games to function, at least in the way that the open world Zeldas do, for the developers to let you be able to go wherever you want, they give you all of the tools you'll need from jump. Because they have to follow up on the promise of you can go there right now if you want. Whereas...
Specifically these last two Zeldas.
There's nothing specifically those two. Obviously that's not the case with fucking Wind Waker, right?
Yeah.
But that's... I don't think there's any feeling I love more in a game than, oh, now I have this. This changes everything about how I interact with the world and how I explore it. And Metroidvanias give you that feeling multiple times. But that Hollow Knight lets you have your cake and eat it too by letting you do that in whatever order you want while getting these massive power boosts. That feels really freeing to me. It's the combination of now you're stronger and now you can do more. And you get that feeling multiple times. So that's what I love most in those kinds of games where you explore a huge world. Whereas in open world Zelda, not only do I know I'm going to find the same stuff for the most part in every region, but I'm not even getting new tools to traverse the world in a new way. Tears of the Kingdom is a little bit different on that front because of those Zonai devices, but the hot air balloon you find 10 hours in the game is going to be the same as the hot air balloon you find 100 hours in the game. I kept waiting my entire playthroughs of both Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom for, like, man, maybe I'll get a hook shot, or, like, maybe I'll be able to go underwater. Something that changes the way I look at the world. Like, oh, now I can do this. Oh, that's weird, I didn't think of that. Never had that moment.
Yeah.
So,
fair enough.
More Metroidvanias should be like Hollow Knight. Is all I'm trying to say.
I mean, I definitely liked Hollow Knight, and Hollow Knight is definitely, like... I do love that game. I can't...
Where is Silksong? I just remembered. Oh.
At the end of the day, the thesis statement is, where is Silksong?
Where is Silksong? We've been here for 3 hours. And we're still no closer. That's our thesis statement. Oh my god. It all goes back to fucking goddamn it, Team Cherry. I have problems with Nintendo, but I'll get to you later. You Australian fucks. Just release the game. It's big enough. Just do DLC later. I'll pay for it.
I'll pay for it. Oh my gosh.
Of course. That's where this is all heading. But I guess I say all of this to say, I guess if anyone were to ask me, well, what would you want from Zelda for you to like at least open world Zelda more? I guess ultimately, I would want to find more power-ups and stuff throughout the world so that I could unlock areas that do feel different because you're prepared for them to be different rather than finding the same stuff everywhere because you already have everything you need to deal with these things. But then, would it really be an open world? I don't want to suggest that, even though I've thought about it a lot, because I think ultimately the game might have a hugely expansive world, but if a player couldn't go anywhere they wanted literally, just like most places, they'd probably be disappointed. So ultimately, really, I think this kind of game just isn't for me, and I don't want to suggest anything that would go against what the games are really about. I don't want to take that away from anybody.
See, for me, I want to ask really quick. What of the old Zelda games? Like, have you played any of those?
Actually, just Wind Waker.
Just Wind Waker, okay.
Yes. I do want to get around to playing, like, at least, like, Twilight Princess, Link to the Past.
Twilight Princess is really good.
Maybe the 64 games.
I will come to this conclusion for you. It's that I think they'd probably mesh with you better. But the thing is, I always saw Zelda as a series of growth. And maybe this doesn't fit for you because you haven't been through all the games, but it's like, the games always had this promise of, you can go anywhere, you can do anything, and you can do this and you can do that. And we always heard that,
but it
we
wasn't
never
really
felt it. We were like,
right.
Yeah, but I still can't go there. And you're telling me I can, but I clearly can't. So we were always restricted. And that's why I think these are so revolutionary, because we're finally getting that promise.
Right. So I do
so
think...
we have like 35 years on the back end for all of us where we're just like, you know what?
3 hour mark. Woo!
Yep. This is officially our longest podcast.
This really is my manifesto.
It's mine as well.
Well, I do think, though, that open world was the right set for Zelda. At least I think you can make a strong argument for it, and that's what I believe. But I do think that then it's just kind of not for me. And that's okay. Yeah, it doesn't have to be, you know. I wasn't that interested in older Zelda to begin with because...
Clearly a lot of people like it. Clearly a lot of people are definitely into this game, and they're going on about it. And if it doesn't jive with you, there's nothing you can do about that.
That's the thing is, I know A Link to the Past and A Link Between Worlds are like this, but I don't think any of the other big Zeldas are, where you can kind of go in whatever order you want. So, like... The other games are still going to feel like adventures to me when I get around to them, because there's like a building of progression. There's a building scope of where you can go when and what you can do when. Mm-hmm. And again, there's nothing that motivates me more in games than that feeling of growth. So games that really feed into that are going to keep my attention. A game where I can do whatever I want whenever I want will feel really cool at the start and get old to me very fast. And that... I had that realization. That's why I enjoyed these two games so much for so long, and then got sick extremely quickly, very suddenly. Because once I got done exploring, which was really fun for me, I started thinking about, well, what have I been exploring for? Now that exploring's old and I'm not as intrinsically motivated, what's there for my extrinsic motivation? Now that the balances of those have shifted.
Yeah.
Same rupees, same weapons. Oh, okay.
Fair enough.
But I don't even know that I'll like other games as much as Link to the Past or Link Between Worlds, so that's why I'm kind of afraid to play those other games, is like, especially on repeat playthroughs. Like, yes, there's that feeling of adventure and there is that feeling of growth, but it's going to be the same path every time. Hollow Knight, I can't get old of it because, again, the first like 2 hours of the game are unfortunately the same every time.
Yeah.
But that's nothing compared to the rest of my playtime, where things still open up a couple of times, not just once, but it feels like a unique path I take every single time.
No, I understand. And you know what?
I like good video games, Ryan.
As far as things go, I think that's a good place to cut it off for now. I think we've rambled enough.
How long is this going to take to render?
Oh, you let me figure that one out. Don't you worry.
I will.
But any closing statements?
Be sure to unsubscribe and thumbs down the video. He's got his finger over the stop button. He really doesn't want me to tell you that. None of you ever comment anyway.
We'd appreciate
it. Really, please.
We like hearing feedback.
I'm so bored. At least tell me that you hate me. At least it's something new. I want change.
Legitimately like comment.
I played Tears of the Kingdom for 120 hours, and I never found a new comment from one of our subscribers. So the game is just so redundant and old.
And with that, goodbye.
There's so many fuckable girls.